ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Tuesday 1984 edition of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. How you doing, Dominic?
Good, man. 1984? Why is it 1984, Crudy?
Buddy, it's getting all Orwellian up in this joint. The President of the United States, you'll see in a minute. We'll get to a piece at the
And here
Post.
I thought it was just like the Van Halen album. A great album. What a great year for music. But not so great for fascism?
Dominic, I'm going to read you a couple of brief quotes, if I may. The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. Couple more, briefly. And if all others accepted the lie which the party imposed, if all records told the same tale, then the lie passed into history and became truth. Who controls the past? Ran the party slogan. Controls the future. Who controls the present? Controls the past. And one last one, Dom. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. Ignorance is strength, Dom. I would say the Trump backers. They got that on their
It
side.
sounds like a quote from Donald Trump. Crudy, what are you reading me?
I was reading quotes from 1984, George Orwell.
The actual book.
The actual book. I'd like to read briefly, Dom, from the Washington Post. Philip Rucker. A quote from Donald Trump, just be a little patient. Trump pleads with farmers caught in the tariffs war. But to me, Dom, that was not the most important part of his quotes. President Bone Spurs apparently out addressing the Veterans of Foreign Wars Convention in Kansas City. And that's where he said a few Orwellian sort of things. I'll read for you. President Trump sought here Tuesday to temper a growing Republican rebellion over its escalating trade war, pleading with farmers to be a little patient and urge people not to believe the news reports they see him read.
Don't
not
believe
the
don't
news.
Don't believe your lying eyes. Don't believe the news. Believe me, your president, Donald Trump.
Dom, you don't have to make it up. We got specific quotes. They'll be coming briefly. As his administration prepares a $12 billion bailout for farmers whose products face tariffs from China and other countries retaliating against Trump's trade policies, the president implored Americans to keep faith in his strategy. What strategy? Trump mocked the agricultural industry's extensive efforts to persuade him to change course. Here's a quote, Dom. They have some of the greatest lobbying teams ever put together, he said, taking pride in his unwillingness to be convinced. Ultimately, Trump argued, farmers will be the biggest beneficiaries of his policies. Farmers are going to be the big winners of tariffs, Dom. Just be a little patient, the president said. Trump made his remarks on trade during an expansive address to an estimated 4,000 veterans at the Veterans of Foreign Wars 119th Annual Convention here in Kansas City. Trump received one of his loudest and most sustained applause when he attacked the news media. And this is the part that really stuck in my craw, Dom. Attacked the news media for its reporting on his trade policies and other issues. Stick with us, Trump said. Don't believe the crap you see from these people, the fake news. As he gestured at the press riser at the floor of the municipal auditorium, veterans in the stands took their cue from the commander-in-chief and pointed, booed, and hissed at journalists. Just remember, Trump told the crowd, what you're seeing and what you're reading is not what's happening. Don't believe your lying eyes. In his speech here, Trump said he was ready to make a deal with Iran just a day and a half after tweeting an all-caps threat of military strike, and he boasted about his summit last month with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, saying that he hopes the remains of some Americans killed during the Korean War will soon be transferred back to the United States as a result of the agreement they reached in Singapore. The delay in establishing the details of how and when the remains of U.S. soldiers will be returned has recently been a source of tension between the U.S. and North Korean negotiators. Trump erroneously said on June 20th that North Korea had already sent back the remains of 200 soldiers. You know how it is, Don. You can't believe your lying ears.
It's quite stunning. The president of the United States still continues to attack the free press. Now in front of a group of veterans who apparently go along with it. Now, perhaps they're just believing their commander-in-chief, but I don't think they're enlisted anymore. Perhaps they can use their own mind and seek out truth for themselves, or you could listen to Trump because maybe this is the guy you believe, this is the guy you voted for, so you're going to listen to everything he says and believe him, and that is truly shameful. This is a guy who embraces Kim Jong-un, who now is going to embrace Iran after threatening war with them yesterday, and who's Putin's little bitch who couldn't stand up to Putin. But in this country, with the free press, the fourth estate, the president continues to hate on journalists and media.
And Dominic.
F you, Trump. What?
Trump's remarks were unusually partisan for an address to the nonpartisan VFW organization. Railed at length against Democrats deriding House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters by name. He talked about how much fun he would have in the midterm elections in November and his own reelection campaign in 2020. Trump also attacked Senator Claire McCaskill, who faces a difficult reelection challenge here in the fall. Dom, I'm going to jump ahead here because I wanted to get to some of the other important parts. Although Trump was warmly received by many of the veterans in the audience, some came up to a reporter following his speech to say privately that they were appalled by the tone of his remarks. This was a political speech, said Dwight Perry, an Army veteran from Maryland. This is not what you do at the VFW convention. He didn't have to come here and talk about how great he is. That's not what we do here.
Oh, bless you, Dwight Perry.
Dom, why don't you take over here? There's some more meat on that bone, buddy.
He didn't have to come here and talk about how great he is. That's not what you do here. VFW spokesman Joe Davis said the organization is nonpartisan and has hosted numerous politicians from both parties over the years, including President Barack Obama. Asked whether the VFW endorses Trump's remarks, David said, "It's the president's words. We are a reflection of America," unquote. Don't believe the crap you see from these people, the fake news, as Trump gestures at the press. I'm not surprised, of course, every time this guy gets into a room full of people and the press covers him because he is the president, he always has to hate on the press. But
Tom,
but when people go along with it like that, I mean, is he just, loosening them up? Is he going to do a crackdown on the press? Free speech at some point greater than he already would have us believe now.
Well, Tom, don't forget, he's also, in essence, telling the farming industry not to believe their own paid lobbyists, the people that they hired to advocate on their behalf. Don't believe those guys. They're the worst, right? Yeah, believe me, just be patient, hang in there. The trade war you're going to suffer through, you're going to be the big winner, farmer.
Well, what about $12 billion in emergency aid to shore up the farmers because of this self-inflicted wound? Because Donald Trump thinks he knows what's best. So how is this a great deal? So now we go to pocket to subsidize the farmers who lost revenue because of Trump's tariffs. How does that make America great? How does that reinforce, lift up our farmers by going to pocket of other people to pay the farmers? This is absolutely ridiculous. And we actually have a little bit sound, I think. Let's play a little bit. Here's Trump on the tariffs. Cut 94, if you would, please, Brian.
Just be a little patient. They're all aiming at anybody that likes me.
Yeah, it's
Don't worry, that's a decreasing number every day, sir.
It's all about you. And it's not just Trump, of course, now. Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House from Wisconsin, the retiring guy, well, they don't agree on tariffs either. Let's do cut 83.
I've made it pretty clear I don't think tariffs are the right answer. I don't support tariffs. I think tariffs are taxes, and I think there are better tools that we can use.
Yeah, what are you doing about it, Ryan? Next one. 84.
I understand the president's plan. I understand what he's trying to do, and I understand, and the goal he's trying to achieve is a good one: a better deal for Americans, better trade agreements. I just don't think tariffs are the way to go, and our members are making that pretty clear.
$12 billion in aid, $12 billion emergency aid package for farmers. Let's do one more. Cut 85. Paul Ryan.
I think it's important that we work together to reduce trade barriers and trade restrictions between our countries. This friction that we're having, as long as it results in lowering barriers and making it easier for us to access foreign markets and have reciprocal trade agreements, that's great. That is hopefully where we can end up with this.
And if that happens somewhere that'd be great, but now it's going to cost $12 billion.
But, Dom, you realize Republican senators are already balking at this deal, at least according to The Hill. Alexander Bolton, and we got a minute here, but we'll take our first break, listening to the devil's advocates, but I'll read as we go there. Senate Republicans are criticizing plans by the Trump administration to provide $12 billion in emergency aid to farmers hit by the president's escalating trade war. The Agriculture Department is planning to announce on Tuesday a $12 billion assistance package by farmers who have trouble exporting commodities because of Trump's tariff against China, Mexico, and Canada. The news was met with immediate pushback and criticism from Republicans who said the administration is distorting the free market and trying to put farmers on welfare. They want trade, not aid, said Senator Ron Johnson. The farmers caught in the middle of the trade war. This is becoming more and more like a Soviet-type economy here. Commissaires deciding who should be granted waivers. Commissaires in the administration trying to figure out how they're going to sprinkle around the benefits. Well, first you got to learn. Listen to the leader, right, Dom? And don't believe your lying eyes or the Fourth Estate, the free press. They're not so free here. Not if Trump gets his way. More devil's advocates on the other side. A big show, Dom, aren't they always? Yes. The answer, yes, they are.
Always. Matt Rothschild, Executive Director, Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, joins us at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. Josh Call, candidate for Wisconsin Attorney General, joins us at 5.
Buddy, another big show. Come back, 844-967-2789. Phone calls toll free here. Man, the 1984 album kind of blasted me back.
Everybody has been outplayed.
Don't even think about it.
China.
Don't even think about
China.
it. Don't even think about it.
China. 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 China.
I'm Andy Buck, Field Representative with Painters and Allied Trades of Wisconsin. It's an issue that brings constant challenges for building contractors. How to find qualified painters, glazers, and drywall finishers. IUPAT knows what you want. A professional job performed by skilled workers who care about safety, training, and finishing strong. Workers who are reliable and ready on demand. Let IUPAT provide the people power that you need. You'll feel confident the job is finished right. Connect at IUPATDC7.com and finish strong.
Music is a bridge between the material and the spiritual. My name is Harvey Lauer, and I'm 82. As a blind person, you have to be aware that nobody can tell you what you can or can't do. You really have to try things. My folks got me a little radio in 1940, and that was the best Christmas present I ever got. When I was 11 years old is when I started to play music, play the piano, and then the accordion, and then the cello. My wife, who was also blind, was a good cook. When she died, that's when I started Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
I'm jumping in with my clothes on.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Join the resistance against dirty carpets. Call Zero Res Madison today for our summer special. Clean and sanitize 3 rooms for only $139. Call 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
I'm afraid right now for the future of my children's generation and those to come.
In this age of mass school shootings, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker offers the same bold agenda of the National Rifle Association.
Make sure you remember in your thoughts and more importantly in your prayers.
While Walker offers platitudes, he blocks meaningful gun safety legislation.
It's really an honor to work with the NRA, not only in my state, but across the country. And I'm proud of my A+ ranking as a governor.
Walker weakened the gun laws in Wisconsin, and then he got $3.5 million worth of NRA support.
There have been men and women of courage who've been willing to stand up and think more about the future of their children and their grandchildren than they thought about their own futures.
Scott Walker, you are not one of them. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You've messed up your daughter's haircut. Do you A, get spiritual?
Mom, where's the mirror?
Beauty is within. Oh.
B, find the positives?
Less time blow drying, more time texting?
Or C, show empathy?
Mom, you really don't have to.
Twinsies!
I kinda love it. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on adoption, visit adoptuskids.org. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Once again, the American public has some reading to do. A 29-page indictment today. Americans need to take a look at page 6, paragraph 20, and here come those important 8 words: to interfere with the 2016 U.S. presidential election. That is it.
Jim, I'm going to make a confession on behalf of the panel. Dom's not going to read the indictment.
Come on, maybe.
The Devil's Advocates, political commentary from the back of the class. The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, streaming live on the YouTube and Facebook pages. Hit us up on Twitter at Devil Radio. And the phone line's always open for our fair audience. Talk or text the party line toll free 844-967-2789.
Dom, was this from the Rocky 3 or the Rocky 4 soundtrack?
I think this was Rocky 4. Yeah, this is Ivan Drago.
That was right about 1984.
Right.
I would break you.
If he dies, he dies. Oh, very apropos.
Back when the Russians were
our enemies. Yes, the bad guys before Republicans got in bed, because there's nothing Republicans love more than money.
Now Ivan Drago's the spokesman for the NRA.
You know, he's a Rhodes Scholar.
What's his name? I forget the actor's name.
Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren. I did not know that.
Very brilliant guy.
Not a great actor, but very smart guy. Ron Johnson, Crudy, you mentioned him, our fair senator. I have reached out to his staff. I'm working on getting him booked once again. But
I was going to say more so your senator than mine, but go forward,
senator.
Young man.
Here is the full quote regarding the aid for farmers harmed by the tariffs. You know, self-inflicted wounds. Quote from Ron Johnson: time and time again, I've heard from farmers that they want trade, not aid. Instead of throwing money at a problem we've helped create, the better option is to take action to make it easier for our farmers and manufacturers to sell their goods at fair prices to consumers around the world. I support President Trump's call for reciprocal trade and his effort to stop China theft of Americans' intellectual property, but we should stop self-inflicting permanent damage to America's economy through tariffs and trade war. And, Crudy, this is, I think, kind of a common theme. We heard a little bit of a sound from Speaker Ryan. Well, we don't like that. That's not what we do. We Republicans, we're about free and fair trade, and tariffs are bad. Tariffs are taxes. No, but they don't do anything. They don't tell Trump, hey, you're wasting $12 billion because you instilled a tariff that wasn't necessary. Nobody's standing up to the president. None of them. None of the free market, capitalistic Republicans have the backbone to stand up to this guy. We get a stern lecture from Ryan and from Johnson, but no action. No action.
Well, they issued a press release, at least Ron Johnson did, right? That's a big step for a senator, isn't it? Never seen a presser before.
Right. I would hope. And where's the independence, guys? And maybe have some forethought. I know, Ryan, you're leaving. Maybe you're wound up. And Ron, God only knows what you were doing over there on America's birthday, hanging out in Russia.
Ron's implicated in some way, shape, or form.
Come on, people. Trump is not the guy you want to lead. Trump is doing stupid, asinine things, very reflective, it's not thought out, I would submit. So maybe you should stand ground, if not on something like as simple as core to your beliefs, the economy and world trade and tariffs or taxes. This is an easy one. This is an easy one, Republicans. You could stand up and do something more than give a little speech and put out a presser.
Dominic, Jeff Sessions gave a little speech today. Talked to some young conservatives. He encouraged them, in fact. What did he say precisely? I like this bunch. I got to tell you, you're not going to be backing down. Go get them. Go get them. The young Republicans, the young conservatives, Dom then chanted, lock her up. Lock her up. To which Jeff Sessions repeated, lock her up. Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates, going to talk about Trump and Russia and a change of tone. And do you, deplorables, still believe that, man? Come back with us. Join us on the phones. Deplorables, welcome here. 844-967-2789.
I feel good. So if you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously.
He does.
Join the resistance against dirty carpets. Call Zero Res Madison today for our summer special. Clean and sanitize 3 rooms for only $139. Call 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
Indoor baseball, anyone?
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You're not wired to have a response to this sound. But when we introduce a new stimulus, save the food. We're helping to stop food waste. Save the food. For tips and recipes, visit savethefood.com. Brought to you by NRDC and the Ad Council.
I'm Jesse Pica-Holz with Solidarity Realty. If you're looking for a home in Madison or Dane County, call me. I know Madison. I know homes. I'll protect your best interests. Call Solidarity Realty at 608-284-9311 or search solidarityrealty.com.
The bridge is out and there are scat holes everywhere. Come on. What's wrong with you? Listen to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
Excuse me, I know you have a 9 o'clock, so I'll keep this short. I'm the business suit in the back of your closet. You wore me nearly every day before your office went, quote, casual. I used to be the CEO of your closet. Now I'm just that one intern no one ever talks to. I always thought you'd circle back with me. Get granular. Keep me in the pipeline. But nada. Nothing. Don't you remember the McKittrick presentation? You spilled coffee on me, and I still looked amazing during the breakout talkback Q&A. So, I think it's time for me to move on. I've got a great resume, and I absolutely crush it in interviews, okay? Let's make this a clean break. Shift the paradigm. The only thing I ask is that you think outside the box here and do this. Take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
We got Mark Pocan, live via phone. Mark, does Paul Ryan hate poor people?
Oh, he hates poor people and middle-class people. I mean, I think when he was probably 5 years old playing with Play-Doh, trying to, adjust the taxes on Play-Doh. So, to be fair, I think he's doing what he always said he was going to do. It's just no one actually believed he was either that cruel, evil, or dumb to do it.
The Devil's Advocates, weekday afternoons on 1510 AM, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Milwaukee Alderman Khalif Rainey said the Brewers fans who gave Josh Hader a standing ovation on Saturday night are, quote, an embarrassment to the world, end quote. That appearance was Hader's first at Miller Park since tweets of his surfaced that were racist and homophobic. In a statement, Alderman Rainey said, quote, the boisterous manner of standing to show support for Hader is nothing less than a dismissive stance against the problems of race affecting an entire community, a community dealing with the effects of hyper-segregation, economic disparity, and police harassment. Outside this afternoon, mostly sunny, temperatures in the low 80s. Tonight, mostly clear, lows in the mid-60s in Milwaukee, low 60s for Madison. You're listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network.
The Devil's Advocates, tackling the issues you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. They haven't locked us up yet, Dominic. I would like to share an opinion piece. We found this at the Journal Sentinel Online. It originally published at the Arizona Republic, E.J. Montini. And this one, President Donald Trump lies to everyone. His supporters, well, Don, they lie to themselves. Is it journalism? I'm sorry, my page moved a little. Is it journalism or silly nitpicking to point out that President Donald Trump has been lying lately about where his father was born? Last week I wrote a blog post pointing out that among Trump's most recent lies is one in which he says his father was born in Germany. That isn't true.
Oh, come on.
I heard from readers about the post pretty quickly. For example, one supporter of the president wrote, he lied about his dad's birthplace. That's the best you got, Eddie. That's not journalism. That's desperation. Actually, it's journalism. Why little lies matter. In fact, it's vital journalism. It is vitally important to point out that the President of the United States is willing to tell a lie more than once that is so easily disproved. After his meeting with the European Union leaders, Trump said in an interview with CBS, maybe the thing that is most difficult, don't forget both of my parents were born in the EU sectors. Okay, I mean my mother was from Scotland, my father was from Germany, and I love those countries. Actually, no. His father, Fred, was born in New York City, like Trump. Dom, why is that important?
Continuing, first, Trump has to know he's not telling the truth. Second, he has to know how easily the lie can be exposed. And third, he clearly doesn't care. The president's lies keep coming, and the people in a position to do something about it, Republicans in Congress, do nothing. And the people who can do something about the Republicans in Congress, voters, do nothing. The Republican-controlled government under President Donald Trump has gone full-blown 1984, or as George Orwell wrote in the novel, the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. The Toronto Star and its Washington bureau chief, Daniel Dale, have been unrelenting in cataloging Trump's lies. In a recent article, Dale wrote, the pace of the president's dishonesty has increased significantly in 2018. After averaging 2.9 false claims per day in 2017, he's averaging 5.1 per day in 2018.
Tommy's getting stronger.
Oh my, and wronger?
As a liar. Stronger and wronger. That's why the Republicans love him so, Dom.
The New York Times now reports that Trump was provided with highly classified intelligence indicating President Vladimir Putin of Russia had personally ordered complex cyber attacks to sway the 2016 American election 2 weeks before he was inaugurated. The article says the evidence included texts and emails from Russian military officers, and information gleaned from a top-secret source close to Mr. Putin, who had described to the CIA how the Kremlin decided to execute its campaign of hacking and disinformation. And yet, a year into his presidency, Trump said of a meeting with Putin, I don't know how many times I can ask him if he meddled in the election, but I pressed him again and he denied it, and I believe him. He continues to provide cover for Putin, or is it for himself? I understand the inclination to turn a blind eye to a bad actor with whom we happen to agree or who's helping our team. During the worst of the steroid era in baseball, when Barry Bonds was winning games for the San Francisco Giants, the slugging outfielder was booed in every ballpark outside his home field and universally vilified by just about every fan except those in San Francisco. There's the old story as well, explaining American foreign policy, in which Franklin Delano Roosevelt supposedly said, but probably didn't, about a Nicaraguan dictator, Asancio Somoza. He may be a son of a bitch, but he's our son of a bitch. Finally, Crudy, imagine if Hillary did this. Maybe you look at Trump that way. But is it worth 5.1 lies per day, some of which may do irreparable harm to national security? Imagine if Hillary had won the election. Imagine if the Russians had hacked into Trump's campaign to get Clinton elected. Imagine Clinton then said she didn't believe the hacking had anything to do with the election and called the reporting of it fake news. Imagine if Clinton had then cozied up to Putin and dissed our oldest and most valuable allies in Europe. Imagine if a special counsel's investigation into all this netted more than 24 indictments and numerous guilty pleas, and Clinton called it a witch hunt. Imagine if Clinton went to Helsinki and took the side of the Russian strongman over America's own intelligence agencies and Department of Justice. Imagine you then found out that Clinton was provided intelligence, agency proof of meddling weeks before her inauguration, and proof as well that Putin had ordered it. Would you still forgive the lies?
Well, here's how you know that story is dated a couple days. A, because the 1984 Orwellian treatment, Trump's just doubling down on that. And B, Dom, Donald Trump came out today and said, well, Putin will be supporting the Democrats in the midterms.
Right, what?
Did he have that on very good sources, Dom?
Exactly. You know, Sergio told him. Sergio told him.
Felicio Sanmez at the Washington Post. Without evidence, Trump claims Russia will be pushing very hard for the Democrats in the 2018 midterms. President Trump on Tuesday claimed without evidence that the Kremlin will support Democrats in the November midterms, debuting a new line on Russian interference as the uproar over his shifting stances on the issues enters its second week. Trump made the claim in a late morning tweet 8 days after he held a joint news conference in Helsinki with President Vladimir Putin, in which the Russian leader himself acknowledged that he had wanted Trump to win in 2016. I'm very concerned that Russia will be fighting very hard to have an impact on the upcoming election.
What?
Trump said in a Tuesday tweet, based on the fact that no president has been tougher on Russia than me, they will be pushing very hard for the Democrats. They definitely don't want Trump. Or so he tweets, Dom.
They already got Trump. That was 2016.
Yeah, but now he's being sneaky, Dom. He's casting, projecting, if you will. No, look over there. They'll be helping that team this time. the U.S. intelligence community has concluded that Russia interfered in the 2016 presidential election and that the effort was specifically aimed at helping Trump win. On July 16th in Helsinki, Putin said he wanted Trump in the White House because he thought U.S.-Russian ties would benefit. Yes, I did, because he talked about bringing the U.S.-Russia relationship back to normal, Putin said when asked whether he had wanted Trump to win the 2016 election. You can't believe Putin. Yeah. You can't believe that guy either. In a statement after that summit, Director of National Intelligence Daniel Coates reaffirmed the intelligence community's findings and warmed up Russia's ongoing pervasive efforts to undermine our democracy. Dom, days later, you brought this to my attention. A Microsoft executive said the company had discovered a spear phishing campaign by Russian military intelligence targeting at least 3 different candidates in this year's elections. And since defending Putin in Helsinki and publicly doubting U.S. intelligence community findings, Trump has issued a stream of clarifications, corrections, and conflicting statements that have prompted criticism from Democrats as well as members of his own party, Dom.
But it's
Felicia Sanmez,
it's going to be
the
the
national
Dems.
political reporter at the Washington Post.
But Putin's going to pull for the Dems this time. I mean, that's what Trump tweeted out. And his basis for that was because no president has been tougher on Russia than me. But he sat next to the man. The little bitch sat next to Putin with every opportunity to call him out. You know, I mean, maybe he should have, maybe he's stronger. Like a lot of these keyboard kings, they're a lot stronger when they're just typing words out than they are face to face. So maybe instead of a meeting next time, you want Trump to have some backbone with Putin, give him his phone, stick him in the bathroom, and have him communicate, separately away from the room. And maybe then Trump will find some backbone.
Dom, I wonder if there is any intellectual honesty amongst any conservative or Trump supporters. Because the piece you read, the opinion piece, I mean, I think it spells it out very plainly. If anyone was intellectually honest on the right, Dom, and they asked themselves, what if it was Hillary? What if the Russians had gone after Donald Trump? What if they had handed the election to Hillary Clinton? What if it was Hillary Clinton out there standing next to Putin, equivocating in the way that Donald Trump did? What if it was Hillary doing this? Would you have the very same attitude? Would you be accepting of this? I ask of you, you deplorable righties, would it be okay if it was Hillary? 844-967-2789. Want to hear from you dirty, rotten deplorables. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll get back to the phones once again. I challenge you.
Well, Crudy, you know what?
Be honest with yourself.
Our conservative
If Hillary did this, you'd lose your freaking mind.
No doubt about it.
4 years to investigate Benghazi. I mean, I hear people this very day, Mueller, shut it down. It's been too long. It's dragging out. It's been, 14, maybe 15 months? Benghazi was 4 years and didn't even merit charges. Trey Gowdy, this was a partisan exercise that didn't even turn up any dirt on the former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. 4 years, righties.
And to our friends out there, we have some conservative posters on our fair Facebook page, The Devil's Advocates
That doesn't make
Radio.
them friends.
Oh, they're friends.
More
Big
likely
Ugly
paid
Keith,
trolls.
Big Ugly Keith said today.
He's
Where's the proof of collusion? Where is the proof of collusion? Where is the proof of collusion? And I would say to Keith and everybody else, what do you need? I mean, define for me what collusion is, and then we can talk about it. But how many Trump campaign officials or people within Trump's sphere of influence have to meet with Russians before you think maybe they were trying to collude for Trump?
Dominic, Donald Trump saw the evidence that Putin had ordered the code red, and Donald Trump stood right next to him and doubted U.S. intelligence assessments.
What if Hillary would have done that?
And you are a deplorable. Come back with us. Call us on the phones, deplorables, 844-967-2789.
Stupid question.
It is Russia.
I don't see any reason why it would be.
I'm going to bomb the shit out of them.
Son of a bitch.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Resistance Radio is pleased to support Brady Street Festival, taking place this Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. Brady Street Festival highlights Wisconsin cheesemakers and pro wrestling matches, as well as Division BMX. At 5:30 p.m. on the Absolute stage, it's music by Bow and Arrow, followed by Plaid Hawaii at 9:30 p.m. For more information, go to bradystreet.org. See you there.
J.D. Davis Funeral Home, located at 4803 West Burlott Street, is dedicated, dignified, and distinguished in serving you in your time of need. Direct cremation specials starting at a very low cost of $595. That does not include cremation permit or crematory fee. Traditional funeral packages starting at $1,995 with a 20-gauge metal casket included. Title 19, Milwaukee County General Assistance accepted. Call today, 414-444-8300.
It's a lot easier to measure how many times students use a semicolon correctly in an essay.
Educated educators talking education.
Than it is to measure how many wonderful ideas are in that essay.
Busted Pencils.
There is no teacher shortage.
With Dr. Tim Slecker.
There is a teacher exit.
Featuring Matt Damon's mom.
You want to know what my mom would say?
We've had an intrusion into education.
Busted Pencils Radio. Saturdays at 11 on Resistance Radio.
Milwaukee County, this is Ernell Lucas. How much longer must we wait to drive a freeway system free from reckless, intoxicated, and wrong-way drivers? How much longer will it take before we can enjoy a park system where our seniors can safely go for a walk and our young people can run and play? How much longer will it be before you are served by a sheriff's office that honors the dignity of every human being, including those detained in the jail? As your next Milwaukee County Sheriff, I will ensure your safety on our freeway system and in our parks. I will lead a sheriff's office that honors all human dignity and protects individual rights. On Tuesday, August 14, I am asking you to vote Ernell Lucas for Milwaukee County Sheriff. How much longer will it be before we build a strong and safe Milwaukee County? Not long.
Paid for by Lucas for Milwaukee.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property, or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009, or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
This is high blood pressure. Get back on your plan. Go to loweryourhbp.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
5 your local single-source IT solutions provider. Specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
The Devil's Advocates, tackling the issues you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network. Phone lines are open, 844-967-2789.
Dom, we getting to the phones, or are we getting to the New York Times breaking news?
We'll wait on the Times piece. We asked for callers. Let's get to some. Jake from Milwaukee, you're up. Hey, Jake, thanks for calling.
Hey, yeah, I was just came back from Boston, you know, the creation of this nation and stuff.
Yeah, I heard of it.
That whole thing, but there's also really good lobster rolls. But anyways, my thing is that, you know, it's not about collusion anymore, like your friend Keith. It's about treason.
Yeah.
And it's also about criminal conspiracy against this country. The thing is, like, okay, you don't believe that before the election the Trump administration was working with Russia or Putin? Well, why didn't you just look at his summit with Putin and what he said? I mean, it's pretty easy. You don't have
acts
to be
awfully guilty, doesn't he, Jake? For a not guilty man,
Yeah.
Let's presume for a moment in time that Trump is not guilty. He sure does act like a guilty guy.
Well, then he certainly has the worst luck of anybody in this world with regards to circumstantial evidence. I mean, the guy's
It's all deep state created.
He's surrounded by Russians. I mean, he has these condos all over the world. Well, an easy way to launder money is through condos. He didn't meet with anybody in Trump Tower. Well, his whole crew met with people in Trump Tower. Well, it was about adoptions. Well, it was really about sanctions, which you're not supposed to talk about before you're president. And what was really, really about was getting dirt on Hillary. And if that's not collusion, if that's not a coordinated effort to pass information received from a foreign adversary to influence the election, I don't know what they mean by collusion. Maybe we need a new definition, Jake.
Well, I'll give you a new definition. The Republican Party white males love white Russians, if you know what I mean. Just saying, I mean, it's pretty easy at this point. I mean, you may want to stay with your team, but the fact is, if you stay with Trump and the cultist of Trump, you can, if you want to be a lukewarm Paul Ryan or Mitch McConnell, that's better than being a full-out traitor to this nation.
But, Jake, is it possible, let me ask you this, though, with regards to the other Republicans, and let's say the NRA was used as some sort of conduit, the National Rifle Association, and if that's the case, and any of these Republicans who were involved with the NRA, and maybe I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe they didn't know what was going on, I'm going to take the money because I'll take all the money I can get, I get that. But you have to think, if that's the case, they got to be freaking out. I mean, the NRA had an increase of $100 million. I mean, talk about fundraising increases, man. I'd love to hire someone who could bring up the fundraising by $100 million. If this is true and it goes to the foundation of the funding mechanisms for the Republican Party, they're going to have all sorts of trouble on their hands. Thanks for the call, Jake.
You know why so many people admire Donald Trump?
No.
This guy's got a history of betting the beautiful porn stars and playmates, Dom. And I'm going to dig into a piece being reported at the New York Times. Kenneth Vogel, our good buddy, Maggie Haberman, and others. Early one morning in October, Rick Gates, a Washington lobbyist who had been a top official in the Trump campaign, emailed family and friends warning them that he was about to be indicted by special counsel investigating Russian interference in the 2016 election. He declared himself innocent of collusion with the Russians and denounced the investigations as highly politicized, an assault on those who helped elect a president that was not favored by many. One recipient of the email, Elliot Brody, a top fundraiser for President Trump, responded quickly, expressing his condolences to Mr. Gates and adding that he and his family were in my thoughts and prayers. The warm response hints at the relationship that once existed between the two men as they worked together to pursue lucrative opportunities in Mr. Trump's Washington. Mr. Brody was a client of Mr. Gates and had paid him at least $125,000. For that money, Mr. Gates advised Mr. Brody on how to pursue both a contract for his business and appointments for his associates, and provided insight into the new administration's foreign policy plans, according to interviews as well as internal emails and documents obtained by the New York Times. Their financial arrangement, not previously reported, was emblematic of the way a small circle of Mr. Trump's associates at the beginning of his presidency aggressively marketed administration access to well-paying clients and sheds lights on the activities of Mr. Gates, who has emerged as a key figure in the investigation of special counsel Robert S. Mueller III. Those activities are detailed in a batch of Mr. Brody's emails that was hacked and provided to the Times and other news outlets by an anonymous individual or group opposed to Mr. Brody's work in Washington for foreign countries including the UAE, Dom. The emails detailing Mr. Gates' works with Mr. Brody were corroborated by people familiar with the arrangement, as well as additional documents from other sources. Gates has pled not guilty to financial fraud and lied to investigators, and is also cooperating with Mr. Mueller's team. Paul Manafort, who was Mr. Trump's campaign manager and was indicted together with Mr. Gates.
He's in jail right now.
Is in jail awaiting trial. Dom, this Brody, this Elliot Brody, this RNC, this big Republican funder, let's not forget, had a little Playboy Playmate issue of his own, right?
$1.6 million paid out.
And the contract, and Michael Cohen apparently must have drafted the contract between these two parties. They used pseudonyms. In fact, the very same pseudonyms, David Dennison, DD, and PP, that were used in the Stormy Daniels. And Dom, that begs the question, was this Elliot Brody's Playmate mistress who was impregnated? And in fact, why would he pay her off? He's, relatively speaking, a private citizen. So what? If he cheats on his wife, he's a rich guy. He pays off the wife. Why do you pay off the Playmate? I assert, Dom, he was paying off the Playmate on behalf of Donald Trump. And you remember the Dirty Dozen tapes Michael Cohen handed over, or was seized by FBI investigators?
We sure do.
I strongly suspect there will be one detailing the details of Elliot Brody's tryst, not with the Playboy Playmate, but with buying access to Donald Trump by paying off Donald Trump's Playboy Playmate. Batman joins us next. Matt Rothschild, Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. It's all about the money. Follow it into hour 2.
If you have an innocent client, act like it.
I think I did our country a great fire. Fire, fury, and frankly, power. You're all gonna...
Here in the Badger State, we have our own expressions. When we're looking to go on vacation, we state, well, let's go up north. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, president of Teamsters Local 200. Here in the Badger State, we also have another expression, union yes. The strength of the labor movement depends on elected officials here in Wisconsin and Washington, D.C. that support the values of working families that raise the standards for all. Give us a call at Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit our website at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook at Teamsters Local 200. Be engaged.
Hey folks, sexy liberal Stephanie Miller here. Most new Wisconsin jobs are in Dane County, it's true. Some of my listeners are relocating to Madison. Many already commute there. When asked where to turn for a trusted real estate team that understands Madison, I say the same thing. Solidarity Realty. They help you through the process and protect your consumer rights. They live their values, building community, promoting sustainability and diversity. Find them today at solidarityrealty.com and tell them Stephanie Miller sent you.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella, Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines. Five Nines is more than just our name. It's the level of service you can expect. We provide 99.999% uptime. That's the highest availability and performance you can get. You have enough to worry about with your business data, web, security, and cloud services, so we'll manage your IT so you don't have to. Visit 59s.com. That's the number 5NINES.com.
Jeff's Guitar Clinic is a multifaceted shop offering guitars, amplifiers, and all accessories, guitar lessons for all ages, and instrument repair of the highest quality. Jeff'sGuitar.com.
Join the resistance against dirty carpets. Call Zero Res Madison today for our summer special. Clean and sanitize 3 rooms for only $139. Call 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
You are listening to 1510 AM WRRD Waukesha, Milwaukee, and 1580 AM WTTN Columbus, Wisconsin's resistance.
Trade war update. Deadly fires. I'm Mike Moss. President Trump says he knows trade wars can hurt workers and businesses, but he says now is the time for the U.S. to stand up for fair trade.
Denouncing trade wars with the European Union, China, Canada, and Mexico, Republican Senator Ron Johnson describing farmers' plight in a speech at and streamed by the Heritage Foundation.
Not only are they losing access to markets that has taken them decades to develop, that they're being replaced right now. Now, in addition to that, when you lose access to those markets, what's going to happen to all the supply? We're going to have a massive oversupply domestically versus the demand we have, and so prices are going to plummet.
In his Kansas City speech, though, President Trump mocking other nations as now being anxious to work out new trade agreements.
When can we be there? Would tomorrow be okay? No, folks, stick with us.
Bob Costantini, Washington.
Sensing farmers' frustrations at losing money from the trade wars, the White House announced today a short-term $12 billion assistance package of direct aid to struggling farmers. The death toll from raging wildfires just outside Athens, Greece, has risen to 74.
While ash turned the sky yellow in Kineta on the western coast, fire rages through the port town of Rafina on the eastern coast. One woman said she and her husband headed toward the beach, only to be stuck in a gridlock as the black smoke grew closer. She said they could not breathe and panic started everywhere. She said the fire eventually stopped a little more than 100 yards from her house. I'm Natasha Chen.
And a section of Yosemite National Park is being closed to the public in an effort to stop the spread of some California wildfires. Mitch McConnell has made it clear that he and House Speaker Ryan will not welcome Vladimir Putin to Capitol Hill should he accept the president's offer to visit this fall. TMZ says Demi Lovato is in the hospital, reportedly for treatment of a possible heroin overdose. She's 25. The Dow closed up 197, S&P up 13. I'm Mike Moore.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go fish, Dad.
Oh, come on. This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
James Santel, he's a former U.S. attorney. He's our guest live on Brady.
Once again, a pleasure to be with you, gentlemen, to talk about the latest news breaking as we speak.
The FBI raided Michael Cohen, Trump's personal attorney, but once they got there, then they went back and got a more thorough warrant and said, we'll take everything.
My first reaction is you need to teach criminal constitutional law. You've got it just right in terms of the process.
They are kind of a big deal.
This is a really big deal.
Flash free. Ivanka Trump has decided to get out of the fashion business.
Ivanka Trump's fashion line took a lot of heat during the presidential campaign because the clothing and shoes were not manufactured in the U.S. She stopped working for the company when she joined her father's administration in D.C. as an advisor. Apparently, she likes the world of politics so much that she doesn't want to go back to her old business. The brand's 18 employees were informed today that the fashion line would close down. In a statement, Ivanka Trump said she wanted to pursue a career in public policy. But her business came under fire recently for conflicts of interest and claims that she received preferential treatment from China in the issuing of trademarks. Steve Kastenbaum, New York.
Your dog really cares. A new study suggests that dogs do not only notice when someone's upset or emotional, they also appear to want to help more quickly. And it's not even close. The largest share of Americans' paychecks goes toward housing.
5 your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Looking for a job worth talking about? Teaching is creative, collaborative, and intellectually challenging. See why teachers have better work stories at
Madison. I know homes. I'll protect your best interests. Call Solidarity Realty at 608-284-9311 or search solidarityrealty.com.
For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Milwaukee police have issued their first citation to a bird scooter rider. The 23-year-old man ticketed struck and injured a pedestrian on Downer Avenue Sunday morning. The 48-year-old pedestrian who was struck suffered minor injuries to the face and was treated at the scene. The citation was issued for operating an unregistered motor vehicle. And Milwaukee Brewers pitcher Brent Suter got some bad news yesterday. He's in need of surgery to repair a torn ulnar collateral ligament in his pitching elbow and will be out of commission for at least a year. Suter is 28 years old and had to leave his start on Sunday against the Dodgers after only 3 innings. Outside this afternoon, mostly sunny. Temperatures in the low 80s. Tonight, mostly clear. Lows in the mid-60s. You're listening to Resistance Radio.
The following program is a presentation of DC Communications, LLC. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back, hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dom, we welcome back fine guest. It's Batman, Matt Rothschild from the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Matt, welcome back to the big show.
Hey, Trudy. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Hey, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Dom,
Matt,
how are you?
Good, man.
Can you tell me why Betsy DeVos, the Education Secretary of the United States, a Trump cabinet member, why is she darkening the doorsteps of Wisconsin? Where's she at and what's she doing today?
Well, she was at Adams Friendship to do a little political grandstanding with the governor about education. She's on this commission about safety in our schools, though she doesn't want to talk about guns as far as safety in our schools. But, you know, I think she was in our state to rub it in that she's been destroying our public schools with all her funding for the voucher programs.
Well, Betsy DeVos is okay with guns in schools if it's for protection against grizzly bears, Matt. But let's talk about what her organization, American Federation for Children, Matt, they have been big givers here in the state of Wisconsin. The Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, you're the watchdogs. How much has AFC given? And let's face facts, primarily to Republicans here in the state of Wisconsin, Matt. What is the number?
Well, it's kind of a shocking figure. $6.5 million since 2010. American Federation for Children, so-called, has spent in Wisconsin to elect candidates who will siphon their money away from the public schools and give it to the private schools here. And the amount of money they've gotten out of the public treasury, out of your wallet and my wallet and every wallet and purse from every person in Wisconsin over the last 7 or 8 years, $1.2 billion they got in return for their $6.5 million in campaign expenditures.
That's
so
a
that's
great
a nice little return on investment.
Yeah, that's a fine return on investment, man. I wish I could get that.
Now, Matt, is there a straight
200 times?
Matt, is there a straight line? Do we know if Betsy DeVos and her organization, AFC, we know that they are the givers, but are they also the beneficiaries of these voucher school dollars, this $1.2 billion diverted from the public commons?
Well, I don't know if it's lining her pockets. I mean, her pockets are beautifully lined already because she married into the Amway fortune. So she doesn't need the money. This is an ideological pursuit of hers. One person who needs the money, though, is Scott Jensen, who is the leader of one of the leaders of American Federation for Children in Wisconsin. Scott Jensen, of course, the former disgraced Speaker of the Assembly, Republican leader who was found guilty of a crime during the caucus scandal in 2001. He now is as powerful or more so than when he was Speaker of the Assembly because he, parades around with all of Betsy DeVos's money in his pockets when he was walking through the Capitol. And then right before Election Day, if there's any Democratic candidate who looks like he or she may take down a Republican who's for private school vouchers, why he just slams that candidate with disgusting attack ads, and that candidate loses, and his favorite candidate and Betsy DeVos's favorite candidate and the candidate of the voucher industry ends up winning most of the time. That's how it goes.
Matt, Scott Walker, he has received direct campaign contributions from Betsy DeVos. My understanding, Patience Roggensack, Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice, has also received direct campaign contributions, but these, relative to the greater benefit from AFC, are relatively small numbers, right?
Yeah, I looked her up in our database, and your listeners can go to our website and look up her or anybody who gives money at wisdc.org. I was kind of surprised that she's only given about $52,000 in direct contributions, and her biggest donations were to Roggensack, who got $10,000. Walker only got like $900. If I were Scott Walker, I would have tackled her today and turned her upside down and see how much money came out. But anyway, she doesn't need to give directly to candidates. That's the issue here of the charade of campaign finance laws that we have in Wisconsin and across the country. To have a huge impact on public policy, to have a huge impact on who gets elected, you don't need to give directly to the candidates. You can just give through a third-party group that can spend unlimited amounts of money, and you can give them unlimited amounts of money, and no one will ever really know too much about that. And your impact will be the same as though you were giving it directly to the candidate. So she figured that out.
I got it. I've got to pick a nit with you. It is a greater benefit to the giver to give to a charitable organization, these so-called 501c3s, because, Matt, they get to take a tax-deductible donation. If Betsy DeVos gives the money directly to Scott Walker, well, that's money lost, except for the influence she hopes to buy from Scott Walker. But if she gives money in a tax-deductible way to a 501c3 charitable anonymous dark money organization that then coordinates with Scott Walker, well, man, she gets a double benefit.
Yeah, she does get a double benefit. You're not supposed to coordinate with federal candidates, but in Wisconsin you can coordinate with candidates so long as your group isn't saying vote for or vote against. So, yeah, she'll get a double benefit, and also no one will ever know about it. No one will ever know how much money Betsy DeVos gave to her own group, American Federation for Children, to try to get Scott Walker reelected or get a Republican-dominated legislature reelected. That's how disgusting our laws are right now.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network. Batman, our pal, Matt Rothschild, Executive Director of Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, joins us on the phone. Matt, saw some other information on your website. Thought maybe you could go into the numbers with us. The headline, WMC gives more than $1 million to outside electioneering group to back Walker. The Republican Governors Association, the RGA, they are flush with cash, especially when you compare it to the Dem side. Matt, what'd you find out?
Yeah, so Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce gave $1,250,000 to the Republican Governors Association. And, it's amazing because they don't need to give to the Republican Governors Association. They spent almost $10 million of their own money to keep Scott Walker in the governor's chair over the last 7 or 8 years, but I guess they just want to sprinkle it around, and so that was a huge donation.
Yeah, what is the point of that? I mean, they could have. I mean, they do the same thing as the Republican Governors Association.
Oh, you got to grease all the palms, boys. Don't you get how the game's played?
You got to spread it around. How about the Dems, Matt? Well, obviously there is a Democratic similar organization. How'd they do?
Well, they brought in a lot less money. One interesting thing to see is that American Transmission, ATC, gave $100,000 to the Republican Governors Association and then gave $25,000 to the Democratic Governors Association. They're playing both sides of the fence, but the Democratic group has brought in a lot less.
Do you find that a lot, Matt, in your investigations and looking at the money in politics? Do you see, and I'm not saying that's a necessarily an unwise thing to do. I mean, if you're in business and you have to, work with these political parties and you have the availability of funds to do so, hey, we will help the Governors Association on both sides spread the wealth. Of course, not equally in this particular case. But what do you see? Do you see this kind of activity a lot, especially when it comes to, the business or the corporate giving?
Yeah, I think a lot of corporations are savvy enough to know how the system works, and they recognize, maybe what Scott Walker doesn't, that no party is in power forever, so they like to make sure that they're covered no matter who wins the election. And so I think the Potawatomi tribe, for instance, gives to Democrats and to Republicans both. So a lot of companies are doing it. But on this Governors Association thing, the amazing thing is that, the total for the Democratic Governors Association was $70,000 in the first 6 months of 2018 and almost $2 million for the Republican Governors Association.
Now, Matt, here in the state of Wisconsin, we've got an incumbent governor. He's a Republican. He's a much more clear-cut candidate, easier to give donations if you know who's going to make it through the primary. On the primary side, on the Democratic side, Matt, to hear it be told, they're as poor as church mice. No third-party groups that I'm aware of currently coordinating with any of the primary candidacies, although there's certainly some PAC giving, especially to Malin Mitchell's campaign. But, Matt, let's talk our way through. It's sort of a case of the haves and the have-nots. And I know you're not a fan of money in politics, but it is one of the benchmarks of viability. Matt, what was your opinion of the dollars fundraised by the Democratic gubernatorial field?
Well, they're real shallow. I mean, total raised to date, Scott Walker has raised $20 million, and he has about $6 million on hand, and that's more than all the other Democrats combined. So, Scott, for instance, Tony Evers has only $307,000 left. Kelda Royce has about $670,000, but she's, had to mortgage her house for half of that. And so, at the end of this primary, Walker's going to be sitting on, $6 million, and whoever wins for the Democratic primary is going to be down at just a couple $100,000 at best. And so they're going to have a huge disadvantage once they get out of the gate, and that's one of the issues. It's one of the problems.
Matt, historically, though, if you have, multiple people in a primary, now there's one final victor to go on and face the Republican, do you see people stepping up in the time frame wise? More giving happens now that there has been a declared Dem, or in this case, a declared Dem.
Yeah, I think a lot of the big Democratic typical donors, traditional donors, will come in after the primary's over. A couple have jumped in, actually, for Kelda Royce just over the last couple of weeks. I think it's probably a day late and several dollars short on that because her numbers in the polls weren't big enough to give a lot of people an idea that she's within striking distance of Evers, so they've been reluctant to jump on that bandwagon. That's just my prediction. Who knows? Maybe she'll take off, but it's very late in the day.
Matt, got to ask you about the Attorney General's race. We're going to have Josh Kaul in the 5 o'clock hour. Josh Kaul does not seem to be struggling to the degree. While he has not matched the current Attorney General Brad Schimmel's fundraising, seems like at least, he's on equitable playing field, sir.
Yeah, he's about 60% behind. I mean, the numbers of cash on hand, Brad Schimmel's got $1,057,000, and Josh Kaul has about $680,000 on hand. But that's better than most. I mean, 60% of what the Republican has is usually pretty good for a Democrat right now. It's interesting that Schimmel has gotten $10,000 straight up from Koch Industries and $19,500 straight up from Diane Hendricks, and also Dick Eline gave Schimmel $15,000. So Eline and Hendricks are fighting each other over who's going to run against Tammy Baldwin, but they're together here holding hands and trying to take down Josh Kaul.
Matt, I don't know, talking about a federal election, but a local included in an FEC complaint out of D.C. I know I blew past the stop sign here, Matt. We're in extended interview coverage at this point. But what was your impression, the alleged coordination between Ron Johnson and a shared vendor and outside group in the NRA? What do you think about Ron Johnson's alleged violation of campaign finance law?
Well, I haven't studied the details of that, but it's interesting, in these federal races, you cannot coordinate with outside groups, even if they're doing issue advocacy, but here in Wisconsin you can do it. So maybe Ron Johnson, who's not a scholar on campaign finance, didn't figure that one out in time.
Oh, I think he knew exactly what he was doing. Matt Rothschild, our good buddy, he's Batman from the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. He's the executive director. They are the watchdogs. Matt, we appreciate you keeping an eye on the money. It's always about the money, my friend.
It's about the money. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, Matt, but before we let you go, man, we would be remiss. What is the website? People want to get involved. You watch the money. I mean, it takes money to watch the money. How can people help out or find more about your organization?
It's easy. Just go to the web, WISDC for Democracy Campaign, wisdc.org. We'll take cash checks and lottery tickets.
Well, I appreciate every time Commissioner Crudy puts out the bat signal, Matt Rothschild answers. We appreciate it, Matt.
A pleasure's mine. Take care.
Thank you, Matt.
Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Phone lines, they're open. They're toll-free for you at 844-967-2789. You're listening to Gotham's only Resistance Radio Network. We'll be right back.
Having a great time.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
Hi, this is Scott Walker.
Scott, David Koch. How are you?
Hey, David. I'm good. And yourself?
I'm very well.
On February 22, 2011, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker took a call from journalist Ian Murphy pretending to be billionaire political activist David Koch.
What we were thinking about the crowds was planting some troublemakers.
You know, the only problem with because we thought about that.
You just heard Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker say he actually considered planting troublemakers. Scott Walker wrote in his book, "The fact is we never considered putting troublemakers in the crowd to discredit the protesters." He concluded by saying, "But I had made it seem like we had." Call Scott Walker at 608-266-1212. Ask him if he lies to his friends, is he lying to you?
Well, I'll tell you what, Scott. Once you crush these bastards, I'll fly you out to Cali and really show you a good time.
All right, that would be outstanding.
This message paid for by the People for People Corporation.
I'm jumping in with my clothes on.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Join the resistance against dirty carpets. Call Zero Res Madison today for our summer special. Clean and sanitize 3 rooms for only $139. Call 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
Milwaukee County, this is Ernell Lucas. Dr. King once said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. It's not every day we find ourselves in situations that define our character, but I've had many. As a young police officer, I was shot in the face by an assailant, nearly making the ultimate sacrifice. I gathered the courage to return to duty because of my passion and commitment to serving and protecting our community. More recently, after the careless and protecting our national pastime. On Tuesday, August 14, show your courage by standing with me to restore honor, integrity, and trust to the Sheriff's Office. I'm asking you to vote Ernell Lucas for Milwaukee County Sheriff, a leader with the courage to stand up for our community.
Paid for by Lucas for Milwaukee.
Do you love public education? Do you want to support your schools? Then you should support the people who make them work. You should support teachers and their unions. Teachers' working conditions are students' learning conditions, and when the school bell rings, it is crucial that teachers do not check their rights at the door. The ability to organize and advocate around issues that improve the quality of a teacher's workplace will increase opportunities for students and make schools safer for everyone. Stand with teachers, stand with WEAC Region 7.
The Resistance is live 7 days a week here on 1510 AM WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. Tune in Sundays for Meet the Press with Chuck Todd from 11 a.m. to noon. Then it's the Jeff Santos Show, kicking ass for the middle class from 12 to 3 p.m. And Citizen Action's Battleground Wisconsin rages from 3 to 4 p.m. Get your groove on with Stu Man PM, politics and music, 4 to 6 p.m. with Stu Daniels. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
When they go low, we get high. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming live on the YouTube and Facebook pages, Twitter at Devil Radio, and the party line talker text 844-967-2789.
Dominic, want to thank our most recent guest, Matt Rothschild. He's Batman, executive director of the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. And I think Matt might have made a very small error. I think he stated that Betsy DeVos was meeting with the governor of the state of Wisconsin. My understand, Governor Wankinator, a no-show. The other guy who did not want to meet with Betsy DeVos today, Tony Evers, the superintendent of the Department of Public Instruction, both absent from DeVos's visit up to Adams Friendship. Now, I am watching and listening briefly, and the event went on for about an hour, Dom, at least according to the length of the video. I found it at channel3000.com. But Betsy DeVos, she thanks the First Lady of the state of Wisconsin. Tonette apparently was there,
yeah,
but no Scotty Wanker. Even Walker can read the tea leaves and knows that Betsy DeVos is a highly unpopular cabinet member, and Scott Walker's got no goodwill to spare.
Molly Beck reports in the Journal-Sentinel Walker will be out of state with the Republican Governors Association. Someone got to count all that money. So there he goes. As noted, First Lady Tonette Walker and Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar and representatives from the Federal Commission on School Safety visit the Adams Friendship Middle School in central Wisconsin today. No Evers, no Walker. I was just thinking to myself, what, Betsy DeVos isn't Russian enough for you, Walker?
I'm not sure that she was not implicated in some way, shape, or form, but I don't have the evidence, so I don't want to cast aspersions unnecessarily.
Allegedly.
There are enough corrupted Trump cabinet members, with or without proof, that Betsy DeVos is corrupted to the Russians. Come back with us, Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Your calls, welcome here, 844-967-2789.
Talk it out, man. I'm Jesse Pika-Holz with Solidarity Realty. If you're looking for a home in Madison or Dane County, call me. I know Madison. I know homes. I'll protect your best interests. Call Solidarity Realty at 608-284-9311 or search solidarityrealty.com.
Dad, this is fun. I didn't think I'd like kayaking.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I think it's time to head back in.
Okay. Can we come back?
Sure. Hey, be careful getting out of the boat.
It's a kayak, Dad.
I'm gonna return the kayak.
Can we walk home?
How about a taxi?
It's a short fare from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
Indoor baseball, anyone?
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Here's how you get them. If someone invites you for a cocktail, you bring them beer. If someone invites you to dinner, you bring a casserole. That's how you make friends. That's the Wisconsin way.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Hey everybody, I'm Daryl Ingram of News Talk 1510 WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, and I am the Director of Advertising and Marketing. The pride of our independent stands runs deep in all that we do here at the station. The thing that I know for sure is that you can count on the quality and independent production of client advertising, mirroring the quality and independence of our fine programming here at News Talk 1510. To learn more, contact me at 414-335-0851 or via email at daryl@newstalk1510am.com.
For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction is calling for more than $60 million in new spending for mental health in Wisconsin schools. The proposal calls for $44 million in aid for social workers and mental health staff in schools to address the low ratio of social workers to students. In Wisconsin, there is one social worker for every 1,500 students. Nationally, the recommended ratio is one social worker for every 400 students. Outside this afternoon, mostly sunny, temperatures in the low 80s. Tonight, mostly clear, lows in the mid-60s in Milwaukee, low 60s for Madison. Tomorrow, sunshine in Milwaukee with highs in the mid-80s, increasing clouds for Madison with highs in the low 80s. You're listening to Resistance Radio.
Wreaking havoc on America, just like they wreaked havoc on Wisconsin. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You know, there was a guy that bragged about wreaking havoc on Wisconsin, said he would take his show on the road to D.C. Scott Walker, we forget often, after he won re-election, he turned immediately, re-election in 2014, turned immediately to his presidential campaign. And while he was running as a, campaign in waiting, he was the front runner, and he was very attractive to foreign agents, let's call them spies, like Maria Butina. And it begs the question, Dom, is Walker a Russian dupe? Bill Kaplan, I found this piece at the Wist Politics. I'm going to read this opinion piece about our gubernator. In my April 23rd Wist opinion column, the NRA, Russia, and Governor Walker highlighted the connections between shady Russian operatives, including Maria Butina, the NRA, and Wisconsin GOP Governor Scott Walker. The story for Wisconsinites was based on crackerjack reporting by McClatchy, Politico, Time, and the Washington Post. There is renewed interest nationally and in Wisconsin with the Department of Justice indictment of Butina on Monday, July 16. The story is above the fold on the front pages of newspapers, broadcast by TV, radio, and all over the web. Walker is in the spotlight. Butina has been charged by the DOJ with conspiracy to act as an agent of the Russian Federation within the United States and for failure to register as a Russian agent. The DOJ said Butina worked at the direction of a high-level official in the Russian government, Alexander Torshin, to act as an agent of Russia inside the United States by developing relationships with U.S. persons and infiltrating organizations, think the NRA, Dom, and having influence in American politics for the purpose of advancing the interest of the Russian Federation. The New York Times reported, and here's a quote, Dom, the charges were filed under seal on Saturday, July 14th, the day after 12 Russian intelligence officers were indicted by DOJ for hacking Democratic computers to interfere with the 2016 presidential campaign. They were unsealed just hours after Mr. Trump stood beside Mr. Putin in Finland and said he saw no reason that the Russian leader would try to influence the presidential election. Mr. Trump's own intelligence chiefs have concluded otherwise. Together, the indictments portray a multifaceted effort by Russia to sway the election through computer espionage, personal overtures, and the insistence of American intermediaries.
Throughout the unfolding Russia scandal, the former hawkish Walker has had the same dogged response. I'll leave that up to the people we elect to represent us in the federal government. He said that in February. I'll leave that up to people elected to federal office. April. I'll leave that up to federal folks. July. However, Butina's indictment has forced Walker's hand. The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel reported Walker met Butina through the NRA. The FBI hasn't contacted him, and he greeted Butina in Russian because Walker, quote, took Russian in college. However, there is more to Walker's story. Butina and her handler, Torshin, developed a tight relationship with the NRA, including its president, David Keene. Former Wisconsinite Keene strongly supports Walker. The NRA has spent about $3.5 million to elect Walker. Moreover, McClatchy and Political report that the FBI and the Federal Election Commission are investigating illegal Russian contributions to the NRA to help Trump. What does Keene know? There's more. And here's a quote, Crudy. In April 2015, Butina and Torshin traveled to Tennessee to attend a political fundraiser for a political group backing the presidential campaign of Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, then viewed as a leading contender for the GOP nomination. In July, Butina attended Walker's campaign kickoff in Wisconsin. Too many coincidences. Is Walker a Russian dupe or just a useful idiot?
Perhaps it's both, Dom. What do you think? Now, do you think Scott Walker actively solicited, or at least was open to the overtures of the spy Butina? Do you think that he would have accepted foreign aid, making sure it was properly laundered and funneled through third-party groups? Let's call it the Republican Governors Association, or perhaps better yet, the NRA. Do you think Scott Walker has got a little Russian ruble ink on his hands, Tom?
I do think so, and we're not going to know what he did until perhaps investigations conclude, but we do know what he did in the past with regards to John Doe 1 and John Doe 2. We do know that he cast aside election laws here in the state of Wisconsin to serve his own political purpose. We do know that when he got caught, he pulled on the markers and got the Wisconsin Supreme Court, who were also the beneficiaries of the same corrupt action and money, or at least the beneficiary of the money spent by those specific groups that pertain to Walker, the Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, the Realtors Association, Wisconsin Club for Growth, and others. So we know Walker has a history of doing this. He's been okay with this on the state level. What makes you think, or anybody think, that he wouldn't have the same attitude on the federal level? I have no reason to believe that he wouldn't. And if he got caught, well, hell, they just hire the attorneys again and go through the same cycle in the federal court.
Well, Dom, let's not forget there are FEC allegations, or at least complaints filed against Our American Revival, the campaign in waiting. You're not supposed to use the 527 designation of the tax codes to allow you to accept anonymous donations and effectively create a PAC, which is really just a working campaign function, a shadow campaign in function and in reality. And where did Scott Walker run that presidential campaign, Dom?
The basement of the governor's mansion.
From, of course, the People's House, the Wisconsin Governor's Mansion, right here in Madison, Wisconsin, where I broadcast from today. Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. You can always be a part of this big show. What do you think? You take any issue? Do you think Scott Walker has got any of that red Russian blood on his hands? 844-967-2789. You can call or text. We take all comers.
I did not know that the former president of the NRA, David Keene, was a Wisconsinite. That was new news to me. And it's amazing how many Wisconsin contacts there are with this Republican administration. Hell, we have the former chief of staff, Reince Priebus. Let's remember that guy. We have, Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. He's going to retire, at the top of his game. Because why? Spend more time with your family, Speaker Ryan? And, of course, we have Scott Walker, who has, and these are facts, worked around Wisconsin's campaign laws to the benefit of his political ambition. And if you're going to look at trends and look at what happened in the past and project what may happen in the future, if nothing else, Scott Walker is a malleable politician willing to cut corners and do what he has to do to win his elections, even if it means breaking current election law.
Dom, I have a different way of phrasing it. Once a corrupt SOB, always a corrupt SOB. I think it comes off the tongue better than
you have the best words, Gertie.
They're the bigliest. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates, the bigliest radio show ever.
It's really an honor to work with the NRA, not only in my state, but across the country.
Man is douche and is now free to make love to himself instead.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. It's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Hey folks, sexy liberal Stephanie Miller here. Most new Wisconsin jobs are in Dane County, it's true. Some of my listeners are relocating to Madison. Many already commute there. When asked where to turn for a trusted real estate team that understands Madison, I say the same thing. Solidarity Realty. They help you through the process and protect your consumer rights. They live their values, building community, promoting sustainability and diversity. Find them today at solidarityrealty.com and tell them Stephanie Miller sent you.
Jeff's Guitar Clinic is a multifaceted shop offering guitars, amplifiers, and all accessories, guitar lessons for all ages, and instrument repair of the highest quality. Jeff'sGuitar.com.
You're not wired to have a response to this sound. But when we introduce a new stimulus, save the food, we're helping to stop food waste. Save the food. For tips and recipes, visit savethefood.com. Brought to you by NRDC and the Ad Council.
Josh Call, the candidate for Wisconsin Attorney General.
Do you think voter ID had a suppressive effect, not on 100 voters, but on thousands of voters and perhaps tipped the election to Donald Trump?
This is an issue that came up at our trial. And first of all, I should thank you guys because we actually introduced into evidence the recording of you interviewing Dale Schultz, who was talking about the passage of the voter ID law. That was one of our pieces of evidence.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
Resistance Radio is pleased to support Brady Street Festival taking place this Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight, featuring Wisconsin cheesemakers, live music, and food from Brady Street restaurants. At 9:30 p.m. on the Jameson main stage, it's the Nova Divine Cream City Drag Queens. Information and band lineup is at bradystreet.org. We'll see you there.
All workers benefit from unions, as unions create the highest standard in wages, health and welfare, retirement security, and workplace protections. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters General Local 200. Your voice is your strength. The ability to build a stronger and better tomorrow begins today. Teamsters Local 200 represents workers in numerous industries, and our team is ready to sit down with you and your co-workers to build your unified team. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us on Facebook or www.teamsterslocal200.com.
Have you outgrown your house? Are you sick of apartment living? Not ready to buy but know you need to move? Hi folks, this is Tom Hartman for CCL Management in Middleton. You should consider moving up to one of the finer rental homes CCL Management represents. Unique houses and condos, always clean, most are pet friendly. Visit cclmanagement.com today to find your new home. CCL Management, Dane County's premier leasing and property management company.
Call CCL Management at 833-0009. That's 833-0009 or visit cclmanagement.com today.
J.D. Davis Funeral Home, located at 4803 West Burlott Street, is dedicated, dignified, and distinguished in serving you in your time of need. Direct cremation specials starting at a very low cost of $595. That does not include cremation permit or crematory fee. Traditional funeral packages starting at $1,995 with a 20-gauge metal casket included. Title 19, Milwaukee County General Assistance accepted. Call today, 414-444-8300.
The Devil's Advocates. Rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
And we're back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network phone lines open. Toll free 844-967-2789.
Dominic, where are we going next here? Scott Walker, election year Walker. He's out there trying a new tack or the same old song and dance, buddy. Tuition freeze, another 4 years. I want to get your opinion quickly before we jump into the piece. Patrick Marley at the Journal-Sentinel. What's your opinion of Scott Walker's tuition freeze?
I think it's the same horse he's been riding for years. That's what I think. It doesn't. Do we have funding issues with the colleges? Does this impact the funding? What happens then?
Yes, there are funding issues with the colleges because when you cut the tuition or you freeze the tuition, you don't allow growth for inflation, but the cost of everything else goes up, and Scott Walker does not increase the state aid to the UW system. Yeah, you're creating a cash crunch. That's what Scott Walker effectively has done, according to Patrick Marley at the Journal-Sentinel Online. GOP Governor Scott Walker plans to extend the tuition freeze at the University of Wisconsin campuses for 4 more years if he is reelected. Well, let's stop that. Even as UW officials say they fear continuing tuition freeze could hurt the quality of education they provide. That's what the university's saying. What's Scott Walker know? The guy's a college dropout. But here's his quote through Austin Altenberg. He, Scott Walker, will continue to freeze UW tuition during his next term. If enacted, Walker's plan would mean the undergraduate tuition freeze for state residents would be in place for 10 years. No inflation in the last decade, right? He began it 6 years ago with the help of Republicans who control the legislature. Walker's Democratic rivals are divided on whether to freeze tuition or cut it. The Democrats are at odds with Walker on making technical colleges free and reducing student loan debt. Well, because they would do something, and Scott Walker has not. Scott Walker cut the funding to the tech school system, something to the tune of like 35% off the top, Dom. So he might claim he's put the money back in the K through 12, but certainly he has not done so for the state college system. In fact, Ray Cross is out there trying to keep campuses open. They're talking about combining campuses, and at the very same time, Scott Walker's bright idea is another election year bumper sticker tuition freeze, which really doesn't address the problems of the UW system. But it sure sounds good when you're running for re-election.
The Democrats seeking to replace Walker want to put more taxpayer money towards higher education, but are split on what to do about tuition. Tony Evers, a firefighter union president Malin Mitchell, and lawyer Josh Page said they would keep the freeze in place. Now let's stop there for a moment. What say you, Crudy? You got Dems that are also running for governor advocating for the freeze remaining.
Well, here's what I would say. I believe, and I advocated for personally, free tech school tuition for Wisconsin residents. This is about a $50 million proposal, depending on who you ask. I think the dollars are there. They could be allocated. We could provide free tuition for all Wisconsin students that attend a 2-year tech school. Now, that'd be a hell of a way to knock out the basic studies before you go on to a more traditional university. You know, some of us should have done that instead of spending so much time at Lindy's in college. But what I would say is that all except for, in my understanding of the exception, Tony Evers would allocate about $20 million, would like to cut the tuition cost to students that attend tech schools. But Tony's advocacy is for students to pay some portion of their own tuition because he feels like that puts skin in the game. They need to have skin in the game to be successful learners. That's Tony Evers' advocacy. Now, the issue of college debt and allowing students to refinance the debt, now this is a pretty indefensible position for Scott Walker. I mean, go ask our buddy Scott Ross at One Wisconsin Now. He thinks this is the biggest issue. There's like 1 million, literally 1 million Wisconsinites that have student loan debt, and it's ballooning out of sight. So, well, if you worry about tuition, that's great. I mean, no one wants to pay more tuition. When you start pegging it to the rate of inflation, you might satisfy the wish of Ray Cross. That's what Cross is advocating for. That's not what Scott Walker is advocating for. He's blasting right through tuition, kind of like when he's tossing and scooping and planning for Foxconn. What's tuition? Or, pardon me, what's inflation? We don't even factor that into our math.
Right.
But what I would say is any of the Dem gubernatorial candidates are going to do a better job because, A, I think they will offer either greatly reduced cost of tuition for basic studies. B, the Dems, unlike the current governor, are going to offer some sort of relief, perhaps refinancing or allowing students to refinance their student loans, get some relief on this debt. And ultimately, Dom, Scott Walker, if he's doing it, it's not because he believes in it. Let's not forget, he attacked the Wisconsin idea. Scott Walker has been anti-education with every ounce of his governance right up until you turn the page, you turn the calendar. Oh, it's an election year. Suddenly, we got to freeze tuition for another 4 years. That doesn't solve the problem for all the people, all the borrowers with all the student loan debt. That is a major number of people. Scott Walker's made no effort to solve that problem. You talk about the workforce, the state of Wisconsin. What's the biggest problem? You ask Republicans, you ask Wisconsin manufacturers and commerce. We don't have a trained workforce. Perhaps you need to pay them more. Perhaps you need to train them as employers, but let's assume that falls back upon the state. Why is it that Scott Walker is undermining the state technical college system when we have a shortage of workers here in the state of Wisconsin and we've got a major brain drain because those that do graduate college as millennials, they get the hell out of this crappy state and the bad governance being dropped on them by Scott Walker? Maybe you should start taking care of the tech school system instead of trying to fold it into the UW system over the wishes of the Board of Education. Well, Ray Cross, at least, I forget. All the Board of Regents, they're all Scott Walker appointments as well.
844,
except for Tony Evers.
844-967-2789 if you want to join this conversation. Crudy, okay, so I just want to make sure I understand your contention here because looks like, according to the reporting of the Journal Sentinel, most of the Democratic candidates would either keep the tuition froze or, in some cases, perhaps even cut tuition. Now, that's going
to be offset with state aid.
All right, so
you can't.
Let me talk. All right, so you're telling me that is okay if there's greater state aid allotted to the universities from the State House, right?
Yes, that at least makes logical sense.
And if you allow the students or former students to
refinance their debt at market rates, at current market rates, because the cost of borrowing has gone down significantly.
So the refi doesn't help the university at all. So it's really the only offset.
Neither does the tuition freeze.
Would be to give it's got to come from somewhere. How is that done?
The waste, fraud, and abuse currently contained in the Scott Walker $76 billion biannual budget. I mean, we're spending $2.6 billion on incarceration. That's more than Scott Walker is allocating to the UW system. We could let some people out of prison, especially nonviolent offenders. We could roll back the $350 million per year manufacturing and agribusiness tax boondoggle giveaway that in 2016 resulted in a net loss of 4,000 manufacturing jobs. And when 2017 rolled around and we exceeded expectations and created a net 8,000 manufacturing jobs, that means effectively for a net 4,000 jobs, we spent $700 million, probably closer to $1 billion when you consider the ramp-up years prior to 2016. We're giving money away to choice schools, $1.2 billion. Do you know how much waste there is in a Scott Walker budget? Do you know how much excess there could be that could be allocated to do the right thing by college students? It doesn't even cost the state money to allow students to refinance their debt. Scott Walker has never advocated for that. He'd rather stand with the banks against the citizens of the state of Wisconsin. And let's not forget, Dom, legalize marijuana. When I was running for governor and pointing out to all the fine voters of the state of Wisconsin that good people do smoke marijuana, my advocacy was for allocating $200 million in brand new tax revenue, not to mention the 17,000 new jobs created and the benefit of the wage taxation we would incur as a state. But just getting back to the $200 million a year in new tax revenue, I would allocate half of that money to properly funding not just the tech school need, not just the free tuition, but expanding the tech school, because I hear all over the state of Wisconsin, we got a jobs problem, we got a worker problem. Well, let's start training the workers. Let's give them access to the tech school education they need. Let's not pander and platitude with stupid tuition freezes that just squeeze the UW system and don't actually benefit anyone.
If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
No, I'm going to stay for a while. How about that? Freedom.
I'm Andy Buck, field representative with Painters and Allied Trades of Wisconsin. It's an issue that brings constant challenges for building contractors. How to find qualified painters, glazers, and drywall finishers. IUPAT knows what you want. A professional job performed by skilled workers who care about safety, training, and finishing strong. Workers who are reliable and ready on demand. Let IUPAT provide the people power that you need. You'll feel confident the job is finished right. Connect at IUPATDC7.com and finish strong.
Scott Walker thinks Wisconsin should once again hire him as governor.
You wouldn't hire me to be a neurosurgeon.
This is a person who has not worked in the private sector since 1993.
You wouldn't hire me to run condos. You wouldn't hire me to run HP.
And has made his political career.
You probably wouldn't hire me to run the United States Senate.
By using divisive tactics to the benefit of his corporate donors.
First step is we're going to deal with collective bargaining for all public employee unions. Because you divide and conquer.
Now he supports the largest publicly funded government subsidy of a foreign corporation in American history.
They can go suck lemons.
And Scott Walker has yet to live up to his first campaign promise to create 250,000 jobs.
Is this a campaign promise, something you want to be held to?
Absolutely. Scott Walker, we the people are done sucking your lemons. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
This is high blood pressure. Get back on your plan. Go to loweryourhbp.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
Join the resistance against dirty carpets. Call Zero Res Madison today for our summer special. Clean and sanitize 3 rooms for only $139. Call 608-848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
You are listening to 1510 AM WRRD Waukesha, Milwaukee, and 1580 AM WTTN Columbus, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network.
Days after Vladimir Putin openly said he was happy Donald Trump won the U.S. presidency, Mr. Trump tweeting from Air Force One, quote, "I'm concerned that Russia will be fighting very hard to have an impact on the upcoming election. Based on the fact that no president has been tougher on Russia than me, they will be pushing very hard for the Democrats. They definitely don't want Trump," end quote. The president offered no specific proof of why he thinks Moscow would want to help Democrats. He has on again, off again said he accepts intelligence reports affirming Russia meddled in the 2016 election, but he has never acknowledged the same agency's conclusions that Russia was favoring him or at least trying to hurt Hillary Clinton. Bob Costantini, Washington.
The Trump administration says new images show North Korea has begun dismantling a key missile facility. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo.
We've seen the open press reporting about the missile engine test site. It'd be entirely consistent with the commitment that Chairman Kim made to President Trump when the two of them were in Singapore together. He made that commitment to them orally. We've been pressing for there to be inspectors on the ground when that engine test facility is dismantled, consistent with Chairman Kim's commitment.
At least 74 people have been killed as wildfires char Greece.
High winds are carrying flames and smoke in 5 major wildfires across Greece. For some residents near the sea, the only way out is to run for the water. The Greek Prime Minister met with firefighters while support poured in from around Europe. The European Commission says they received requests for help and quickly had offers from Spain, Cyprus, and Bulgaria. I'm Natasha Chen.
Multiple reports say pop star Demi Lovato is alert and breathing in a Los Angeles hospital after a possible heroin overdose. Lovato has struggled with substance abuse issues in the past. On Wall Street, the Dow gained 198 points. I'm Ann Cates.
Jeff's Guitar Clinic is a multifaceted shop offering guitars, amplifiers, and all accessories, guitar lessons for all ages, and instrument repair of the highest quality. Jeff'sGuitar.com.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
The Resistance is live 7 days a week here on 1510 AM WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. Tune in Saturdays for Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk with Dr. Tim Slecker, 11 a.m. to noon. Then it's the voice of the voiceless, champion of the working class. Earl Ingram's Saturday show is live from 12 to 3 p.m. Then Right Meets Left with the Joel and Joe Costa Show. Republican State Rep Joel Clayfish and Democratic State Rep Joe Costa Zamarupa go toe-to-toe from 3 to 4. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
Sleep.
Mars will soon be making its closest approach to Earth in 15 years.
Mars will be just 35.8 million miles away from Earth on Tuesday of next week. And on Friday, the red planet will be in opposition, meaning Mars and the Sun will be on exact opposite sides of us. That will make the solar system's fourth planet easier to see than usual. The planet already shines brighter than normal right now, but will also appear bigger as Tuesday approaches. And astronomers expect a good viewing of Mars through early next month. Unfortunately, there are some massive dust storms on the surface of Mars right now, making it harder to see those surface details through telescopes. I'm John Stolnis.
The jackpot for tonight's Mega Millions drawing has hit $522 million. That is the 5th biggest prize in Mega Millions history. The cash option is worth more than $300 million. The odds of winning all that dough are 1 in more than 302 million. I'm Ann Cates.
I'm Jesse Pica-Holz with Solidarity Realty. If you're looking for a home in Madison or Dane County, call me. I know Madison. I know homes. I'll protect your best interests. Call Solidarity Realty at 608-284-9311 or search solidarityrealty.com.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
150 over 90, and I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure sounds like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from silent. Get back on your treatment plan or talk with your doctor to create a plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
Head to toe, everything's changed.
Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
Looking for a job worth talking about? Teaching is Council.
For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Foxconn named 37 subcontractors yesterday that will build the first building at their campus in Mount Pleasant. Construction is expected to begin next month and be completed late this year. The first building will be called the Multi-Purpose Building and will initially house offices for the construction companies. Foxconn said they will also locate research and development activities in the building. And the Brewers beat the Nationals 6-1 last night. Game 2 of that 3-game series is tonight at Miller Park. Outside this afternoon, mostly sunny. Temperatures in the low 80s. Tonight, mostly clear. Lows in the mid-60s in Milwaukee. Low 60s for Madison. Tomorrow, sunshine in Milwaukee with highs in the mid-80s. Increasing clouds for Madison with highs in the low 80s. You're listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network.
The following program is a presentation of DC Communications, LLC. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dom, we are sliding into the 5 o'clock happy hour, and I'll be happy if our eagerly anticipated guest, Josh Kaul, a Democrat running for Attorney General, he's up north there, hey, and he's seeking a cell that he can call in from. At least that's my understanding. So we hope to be joined by Josh Kaul. But, buddy, in the interim, I wanted to throw a piece out there. John Nichols, Cap Times. What if Democrats got serious about standing up for workers?
What?
Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders and New York Democrat congressional nominee Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez traveled to Kansas last week to prove a point, but it wasn't the point that political and media elites imagined. When Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez stumped for congressional candidates James Thompson, a civil rights lawyer from Wichita, and Brent Welder, a labor lawyer from Kansas City, they were not talking about outflanking ideological rivals or moving pieces on the political chessboard. They were talking about issues that matter to working Americans. What sort of issues? The sort that Thompson and Welder and a growing number of insurgent candidates around the country have made central to their campaigns: support for Medicare for all, healthcare reform, for an expansive commitment to civil rights, for women's rights, for humane immigration policies, and for an economic justice vision that is rooted in a commitment to worker class empowerment. Standing up for unions and their members in Kansas, a so-called right-to-work state where Republican governors have shredded workplace protection, sounds like Wisconsin, and embraced the anti-labor program of the Wichita-based Koch family, may seem like risky politics to some Democrats, but that's simply not the case. This is smart politics at a time when Kansans, like working people nationwide, are justifiably enraged by the scorching inequality that the favored politicians, a billionaire conservative Charles and David Koch, have fostered in states across the country. Here's a quote, Dom. I don't think the people of Kansas or the people of Vermont or the people anywhere in this country think that it is appropriate that a handful of billionaires like the Koch brothers can spend some $400 million in this 2018 election cycle to elect candidates to represent the wealthy and the powerful, said my guy Bernie Sanders. So I think a defeat of the Koch brothers, if you like, would be a very symbolic victory. As thousands cheered in Wichita, Sanders shouted, I believe that every state in this country where people are struggling for a decent life is a state that will fight for justice. Ocasio-Cortez was preaching the same gospel, arguing, wherever they are working class people, there is hope for the progressive movement. What Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez talked about in Wichita and Kansas City is a reversal of the equation the Koch brothers and their fellow donors put in place after the 2010 Republican wave election. Corporate-aligned governors and legislators elected with strong support from the Kochs, moving immediately to attack public sector unions and implement anti-labor legislation, not just in Republican-leaning states such as Kansas, but in historically progressive states such as Wisconsin. The fights of the past decade have created a which side are you on movement in America, and a new generation of candidates running in red and blue states has answered that question with an ardently pro-worker, pro-union politics. Friday's visits by a pair of nationally prominent progressives to Wichita and Kansas City focused attention on the insurgent candidates in Kansas, both of whom face August 7th primaries, and if they prevail, tough general election battles with Republican incumbents. But Thompson and Welder were running on working class issues long before they found themselves standing before thousands of cheering supporters at Friday's mass rallies. As with Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez, these are some of the core issues that drew Kansas candidates into politics. Thompson concluded his remarks in Wichita by urging workers, women and men, to believe, and here's the quote, you are people who have power in this country. It's not the Koch brothers. It's not the big corporations.
Crudy, Welder's message is the same. Here's a quote. I'm running for Congress because billionaires and giant corporations have too much control over our government, declared Welder, who bluntly said, as a workers' rights advocate and labor lawyer, I've spent my career fighting the giant corporations that rig the economy against workers and their community. That's not a slogan, that's a passion for Welder, a former national field director for the Teamsters Union, who became a labor lawyer and who promises to fight to expand union workers' ability to organize. Thompson, who credits public education and public programs with making it possible for him to break a cycle of poverty and homelessness, is equally blunt about his agenda. In the hometown of the Kochs, Thompson's campaign argues that Kansans face a very different set of challenges than those imagined by the local billionaire class. The way of life for working families is under attack, the campaign explains. James will work to bring the minimum wage up to a Kansas living wage. Full-time workers should not be forced to live in poverty. James believes no one working full-time should have to work multiple jobs to put food on the table for their families. It's time to rein in unfair tax schemes for the ultra-rich that leave working people behind. To that end, Thompson joins Welder in rejecting the anti-union propaganda of the Kochs. Again, another quote. James strongly believes in workers' rights to organize at the workplace, announces the Thompson campaign. He will fight to protect and strengthen unions and collective bargaining rights for all workers. This is bolder and more specific language than many Democrats have employed in recent years, especially when it comes to discussions about how to address economic inequality. But Thompson does not believe it is too bold for Kansas. The former representative from the district he seeks to represent, Trump administration Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, was referred to as the congressman from Koch. Thompson, like Welders, like Sanders, like Ocasio-Cortez, and like a growing number of Democrats around the country, argues that the time has come to fill the U.S. Capitol with representatives of America's too long neglected working class. Corporations are buying politicians left and right. We've seen a lot of that in Kansas, and I think it's clear that it has hurt working people, said Thompson. So I think there should be a few of us in Washington who just can't be bought off, who are just going to be on the side of the unions. John Nichols in the Cap Times.
Buddy, there's a good piece at the urbanmilwaukee.com. Yesterday's fine guest, Bruce Murphy, writes about Scott Walker, the anti-union governor, and I think we'll hold that piece after the break. We are hopeful, and perhaps Josh Call will still be able to call in to us. Josh, if you're listening, 844-967-2789. But I want to come back. I want to talk about the dire consequence. It's not just about busting the backs of the Democratic boots on the ground, the power base of the Democratic Party. Scott Walker has effectively decimated the working class of the state of Wisconsin. To attack the unions, and it's not just here in Wisconsin, of course, but to attack the union is to attack the working men and women. And right here in the state of Wisconsin, we know a lot about that. Scott Walker has effectively divided us and conquered us, but perhaps no more. Come back. More Devil's Advocates on the other side. Josh, we're here. We're waiting for you, sir. Rain check for him on Thursday if he's not able to make it today. But come back. Your call's always welcome. Once again, that number, 967-2789.
Don't try to bring us down, 'cause we're not going down. We're not going down. You can try to drown us out. We're too loud to shut your mouth.
We're going to deal with collective bargaining for all public employee unions. Because you divide and conquer.
Probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for the American worker.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
I would like to thank you, President Trump. I also want to express my thanks to government workers.
Foxconn CEO Terry Goh is thankful to the Republicans who delivered his $4.5 billion in corporate welfare.
Thank you to Foxconn.
Scott Walker thanks the foreign corporation who received the largest corporate welfare subsidy in history.
Thank you, Mr. President.
What about thanking the hardworking Wisconsin taxpayers you saddled with a generation of debt for a project that may never be paid back?
People should be rushing to me and patting my back and say, hey, thank you, Mr. Foxconn.
Call Governor Scott Walker at 608-266-1212 and tell him no thank you to corporate welfare, no thank you to environmental rollbacks, no thank you to a project that may never be paid back, no thank you to Foxconn. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
I'm jumping in with my clothes on.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
5nines, your local single-source IT solutions provider. Specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 5nines.com.
Join the resistance against dirty carpets. Call Zero Res Madison today for our summer special. Clean and sanitize 3 rooms for only $139. Call 608-848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her.
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Indoor baseball, anyone?
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Live via phone, he is former U.S. Attorney Jim Santel.
Firing Bob Mueller doesn't mean that the prosecution, the investigation goes away. Pardoning one individual does not mean that you undo everything that has been done before. So this notion that somehow by shutting down and by pardoning and by sort of stopping the process, you're also stopping the wheels of justice is simply, again, it's simply wrong.
The Devil's Advocates, weekday afternoons on 1510 a.m. Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
Bring it? Oh, it's already been brought in. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network. Phone lines 844-967-2789.
Dominic Scott Walker has attacked the unions in the state of Wisconsin with purpose and with malice. And not only has he undermined the Democratic power base of, I think in no small part that was his goal.
I think that was the biggest goal. Goal number one.
But I'm not sure that his goal wasn't also to suppress the wages of the working stiff in the state of Wisconsin. And that's been mission accomplished.
Murphy's Law, you said it, Crudy, Bruce Murphy from urban Milwaukee. The headline, the anti-union governor. Scott Walker may be the nation's leading union killer. What's the impact on Wisconsin? Well, let's hear what Bruce has to say. For more than a half century, Wisconsin was one of America's leading states for unions. That seems unimaginable today after nearly 8 years under Governor Scott Walker. Nothing better defines the Republican leader than his success crushing collective bargaining. He's arguably America's leading union slayer, a title Walker would probably be proud, privately of course, to embrace. What has that meant for Wisconsin? A powerful new report by 4 economists documents unions have been a huge factor in reducing income inequality in America, not just for union members. The decline of unions is a key reason the United States now has the biggest wealth gap in at least a century between the super rich and everyone else. And in recent years, no state has seen a greater decline in unions than Wisconsin. This was always a fertile state for unions because it ranks second in the percent of workers employed in manufacturing, which has always been the sector the most unionized workers, and because it was the first to allow public workers to collectively bargain. A quarter century ago in 1983, 24.6% of workers in Wisconsin were unionized compared to 20.1% nationally.
About 1 in 5 workers in 1983, when I was in middle school going into high school, Dom, about 25% of Wisconsinites were union guys.
1 in 4.
And girls.
1 in 4. 1 in 4, 1 in 5 nationally. I'll continue, Bruce Murphy, urban Milwaukee. This was still one of the more unionized states when Walker took office in 2011 and decimated public unions with Act 10, and then continued what he called his divide and conquer strategy with a right-to-work law that makes it very difficult to organize private unions. The result? Union membership statewide has plummeted by 38.5%. From 354,000 members in 2010 to 218,000 in 2016. The percent of workers unionized in Wisconsin dropped from 14.2% in 2010 to 8.3% today, well below the 10% figure nationally. This is a stunning turnaround with huge consequences for the state. The long-term impact of unions in the U.S. had always been harder to evaluate because the Census Bureau did not ask about union membership until 1973. But this new report, entitled Unions and Inequality Over the 20th Century, New Evidence from Survey Data by 4 economists, Henry Farber, Daniel Herbst, Ilana Kuzmenko of Princeton, and Shuris Naidu of Columbia, has gone back through information on public opinion polls, primarily done by Gallup, since 1936. In the process, they created a vast new database from over 500 surveys done from 1936 to 1986, providing information on union status, household income, and other factoids. They then harmonized this data with that found in the Census Bureau report since 1973. The story that emerges is one whose general outline we know, but is stunning in the new details it offers. The percent of union households grew steadily from the mid-30s to the mid-50s when it included about 33% of households, and then more or less plateaued through the 1960s, only to drop steadily from 1970s on, declining to just 10% today. As this growth period in union households, the study notes, coincided with what it calls the Great Compression, the period from early 40s to 1970, when the difference in earnings and wealth between the super rich and everyone else narrowed significantly. The study finds there was a consistent household income premium of 15 to 20% for union households over the 9 decades studied from 36 to 2010. This union premium naturally had the largest impact on the wealth gap when the highest percent of households had at least one union member. And Crudy, the data shows unions had clear benefits for minority and lower skilled and lower income workers. Here's a quote. In the Great Compression period, when unions were at their peak and inequality at its nadir, disadvantaged households were much more likely to be union members than either before or since, the study finds. unions were conferring a substantial advantage to what would otherwise have been low-income households. A similar pattern emerges for minorities. Unions were relatively less white during the Great Compression.
Don, we're reading from a Bruce Murphy piece at the online daily urbanmilwaukee.com. We've published this at our Facebook page as well, Devil's Advocates. I'm going to read on. The study also found unions can affect the earnings of non-union workers, as the New York Times story notes. To capture such effects, the researchers broadened their lens to include the entire distribution of workers and their wages beyond those who are typically unionized jobs in industries. The data showed that during the years and in states where workers were more likely to be unionized, overall income inequality was lower. You join the union, income inequality goes down. Dom, I read on. Quote here. While the scholars can't pinpoint the precise mechanisms at work, they speculate that unions have indirectly increased pay at firms nervous that their own employees might organize. Unions have also lobbied for higher minimum wages and pushed to hold down executive salaries. They have also advocated for broader access to health care, countering a key channel through which income inequality can harm all of society. The post-1960s decline of private sector unions coincided with the increase in public sector unions, whose members are more likely to be college graduates. And so the equalizing impact of unions was significantly reduced as the wealth gap in America grew ever larger. In Wisconsin, this set the stage for a resentment of public unions and benefits, which was documented in a book by UW-Madison professor Catherine Kramer. Indeed, even some private sector union members supported Act 10 and believed Walker's promise that he wouldn't sign a right-to-work law. How foolish they were. But once Walker won a second term, he signed the legislation. This was only one of the many anti-worker bills Walker has signed, including repealing the 2009 Equal Pay Enforcement Act, which helped women workers victimized by wage discrimination seek remedies, repealing a law that said employees must have at least 1 day of rest every 7 days, repealing the living wage law, which gave workers the option to demand better pay, as much as $6,000 annually than the minimum wage, ending prevailing wage requirements by local governments, and eliminating child labor law rules that 16 and 17-year-olds couldn't work more than 26 hours during a school week, and more than 50 hours a week during vacations. And Walker and Republicans have opposed any increase in the state's minimum wage. The decline of unions certainly isn't the sole cause for the drop in wages here, Dom, but I would say Scott Walker, he just might be. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates on the other side. You're welcome as well. 844-967-2789.
More choices to working families.
Ever since I started working, every single day of my life has been worse than the day before it.
I'm Jesse Pika-Holz with Solidarity Realty. If you're looking for a home in Madison or Dane County, call me. I know Madison. I know homes. I'll protect your best interests. Call Solidarity Realty at 608-284-9311 or search solidarityrealty.com.
My name is Lola Silvestri, and I'm going to be 95 this year. I was very independent. I fell, and I had to have Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
You're not wired to have a response to this sound. But when we introduce a new stimulus, Save the Food, we're helping to stop food waste. Save the Food. For tips and recipes, visit savethefood.com. Brought to you by NRDC and the Ad Council.
Hi, everybody. Did you know that Scott Walker spelled backwards is Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network? I know, I was amazed too. Resistance Radio is pleased to support Brady Street Festival taking place this Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. Brady Street Festival is highlighting Wisconsin cheesemakers, jewelry, and pottery crafters, as well as food from Brady Street restaurants. At 7 p.m. on the Bud Light local stage, it's Queen Tut, followed by the November Criminals at 8:30 p.m. More at bradystreet.org. I'll see you there.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only ordering classic corner tavern.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Person who's against these regulations to keep poop out of your water and poison out of your food, if one of their offspring had a third arm coming out of their forehead,
I would just think that would be awkward. You'd be very top heavy.
But you would be one heck of a football player.
How would they make a helmet?
All you gotta do is cut a hole in the helmet for the hand to come through, and you could catch
but then
passes
you're
all over
elbowing
the place.
everybody in the face every time you walk around.
Wear an elbow pad. You'd be fine.
How would you see?
You would be a heck of a football player.
Would you be an arm unicorn?
414 Wisconsin, weekdays, 2 to 3 p.m. For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Milwaukee Alderman Khalif Rainey said the Brewers fans who gave Josh Hader a standing ovation on Saturday night are, quote, an embarrassment to the world, end quote. That appearance was Hader's first at Miller Park since tweets of his surfaced that were racist and homophobic. In a statement, Alderman Rainey said, quote, the boisterous manner of standing to show support for Hader is nothing less than a dismissive stance against the problems of race affecting an entire community, a community dealing with the effects of hyper-segregation, economic disparity, and police harassment. Outside this afternoon, mostly sunny, temperatures in the low 80s. Tonight, mostly clear, lows in the mid-60s in Milwaukee, low 60s for Madison. You're listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Don, the happy hour continues. Apparently, absent Josh called today.
Oh, come on, Josh.
We'll circle back around with Josh on Thursday's show.
Who's the booker on this show?
I was the booker on that. I haven't seen Ron Johnson on lately. Turn it back on you. Dominic, we're talking about Scott Walker, and he, of course, has attacked not just the unions, but the working stiffs here in the state of Wisconsin. And be it Jane or Joe Sixpack, they're the ones going out there. They're getting dirty on the job site. And I'm not talking so much at this point, although we know Scott Walker has also attacked the public sector unions, the teachers, the administrators, etc.
Yeah.
But I think it's most harsh in some way, shape, or form, Dom, when you attack the blue-collar people. Those people, I think, more often need the power of collective bargaining. Their bodies break down. You cannot work until you're 65 or 70 years old. You can't go out there and pound nails. I mean, your body breaks down. There are so many of our friends in the trade unions, and they need the protection. They need a pension. They need a retirement. And quite frankly, they need medical benefits. And it's good for the rest of the workers, too. Even if you, my friends in Radio Land, do not work at a union shop, the weekend, I think we sometimes forget this, Tom, your favorite time of the week, brought to us by the labor unions.
You mean that wasn't given benevolently by the corporate masters back in the day?
Well, I can tell you this corporate master would have you working 7 days a week left to my own devices.
Good luck with that. No, and this is what's so unfortunate about this entire episode, because if you look at Walker's motivation, well, it's to kneecap his political his adversaries' fundraising abilities. I mean, that's all I look at it as. I mean, certainly the unions have been supportive of Democrats in the state, but not all union members are. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, but don't you think it's also to do the desire of the Koch brothers and his corporate masters. I don't think it's a single facet. I don't think it's simply to crush his political opponents. I think he's also doing the bidding of the corporate donors that write the big checks that keep guys like Scott Walker, sucking off the government teat since 1993.
And what is more quintessential American than banding together through, say, call it, I don't know, collective bargaining, and force your employers to the negotiating table?
Sort of a we the people exercise, Don?
Yeah, sort of a we the people, kind of like what we as a country did in our early days to fight off the evil King George, no taxation without representation. Well, the same mentality exists within the unions. That is the point. And it's amazing as I've grown older and learned more to know the history of some of the union activity. People died right here in Bayview not so long ago fighting for the rights of workers in this country. And I find I've evolved on the issue to the degree that people have a right if they get together. That's why we have these laws. That's why that corporate masters and owners of these companies are not allowed to run roughshod over their employees and their labor. They are more than just a line item on a spreadsheet. These are people and families, and it impacts communities and state revenues, and all sorts of things are involved. It's not just a matter of, hey, this is my company and I'm going to have everybody do what I want, when I want, how I want. And if you don't like it, well, too damn bad. You got to work 80 hours a week. I mean, I would also remind people what happened to some of these terrible owners. I mean, at some point, if it gets bad enough, I'm talking historically speaking, well, then they run to the owner's house and they drag him out from his dinner table and tar and feather him, because there's more labor, there's more workers out there than there are the owners and elites that try to run roughshod over labor. We have the numbers in all facets, and certainly in labor. So when you have a governor taking direction from those very corporate masters, as Crudy mentioned, to suppress the wages, to do their bidding so they can put just a little more money in their pocket. I mean, really? Is that what it's all about? So everybody is now got to scrape a little bit more to get by. You got to work an extra job. Well, hell, that's great. We got lots of people working in the state of Wisconsin right now. But how many of them are working multiple jobs at 40 or 60 or 80 hours a week, just trying to get ahead, trying to get to where their parents were? One parent. I mean, hell, when we grew up, Crudy, a lot of it was one parent was working and they could raise a family and have a good life with just one. How many families now just have one parent working?
Well, I was raised by a single mom. She always worked outside the home.
Right.
And, quite frankly, in the 1970s, at least in Madison, Wisconsin, she was able to put food on the table, and, the car in the driveway was only 3 or 4 years old. We didn't think we had it half bad, perhaps on the lower echelons of the middle class, but certainly I had a safe existence and a good education provided to me by the commons.
844-967-2789. If you'd like to chime in, give us a call. You could be like our pal Mark. Hey, Mark, welcome. What do you think today?
Well, testify, Brother Dominic, testify. I mean, it's what's shocking is they really want to roll things back. I mean, with the they want to decrease the labor protections. I mean that you're seeing them gutting some of our national labor protections, like in OSHA. They don't see the value in protecting the workers anymore, or consumers themselves. I think that they're you're talking about the child labor laws. Well, I mean they want we're in desperate need of workers, so we're going to rely on kids. My fear is with them stripping back on both state and federal protections, that are we going to have another triangle fire situation like that, where people die by the score, and that I'm afraid of what the consequences are going to be when people finally have had enough.
Well, Mark, we have the greatest income inequality in our nation since 1929. History being the guide, I think we had some big cataclysmic event in 1929. It cannot go on forever. If nothing else, look at the economy of a consumer-driven society. If you don't pay the workers can't buy the goods that you're making at the factory. I think Henry Ford had the right idea on this notion. You know, his workers should be able to afford the Model Ts that they were assembling on the line.
And additionally, you brought up, the Great Crash. I mean, the Great Crash was, and also a result of them stripping away the economic protections and the banking rules that had been, some of the banking rules that we did have, they stripped those away, and that allowed, some of the, bad economic consequences of that kind of economic system that gave us the Great Depression.
Yeah, Mark, no doubt, and the Great Recession of the 2010s. Mark, appreciate your call. I want to get this thought out there. Our friend Jesse Apoyan at the Cap Times reporting Kimberly Clark open to state incentive package. How generous of them to consider taking our taxpayer dollars. Senate could return for approval. Going to go to special session. Well, let's not forget, Scott Walker has given, or at least made a deal on the back of a napkin, to give a foreign corporation the most grandiose boondoggle of a corporate welfare deal in American history, talking about the Foxconn deal. Well, part of the concern when you give such a grandiose deal to one is other companies, corporations are going to come and they're going to want their turn at the government trough, right? They're going to want theirs. Well, Foxconn, we've talked about this, Tom, the incentive per job, the average wage of a Foxconn worker, 93% of the workers could make less than $30,000 a year. If they had a household of 4, they could still be eligible for social safety net programs working at this new plant that we, the taxpayers, are incentivizing for the next 25 years to hope to break even on. And that's not a good enough deal in and of itself. Well, other corporations like Kimberly Clark, which as a direct result, I would say, Dom, of the Trump tax cuts. They got the Trump tax cuts and they said, you know what, we're closing the factory. It's more financially advantageous to our bottom line to close the production facility, the manufacturing plant, the paper plants here in the state of Wisconsin. And Scott Walker said, oh, slow down. It's an election year. And despite the fact that the state of Wisconsin is giving an unprecedented incentive to Foxconn, well, let's not stop there. Let's not stop at incentivizing a $14,000 or $15,000, dollar an hour job, a $30,000 per year job. We are incentivizing them. If it's 3,000 jobs, to the tune of up to $500,000 per job, and we're offering the same incentives to Kimberly Clark that didn't even ask for them. Scott Walker saying, take the money. No, we don't want the money. Take the money. Now they're considerate of taking the money, but only because they bent over the union and got concessions from the union.
From the piece, Appleton Post-Crescent first reported on Tuesday that United Steelworkers Local 2482 reached an agreement on Monday that would provide Kimberly Clark with concessions that would allow the facility to remain open. The agreement hinges on the state approving a tax incentive package initially proposed by Governor Scott Walker. Under the bill, let me start here. Kimberly Clark spokesman Terry Ballock said, with the union agreement in place, the company is now able to commit to using the incentives if the proposed legislation is passed and an agreement with WEDC is reached. These incentives, together with the new agreement, allow the company to better meet some of the challenging objectives of our global restructuring program. We will not comment further on the bargain, tentative agreement, or a final decision regarding the Neenah Cold Spring facility until it is appropriate to do so. The State Assembly approved the package, which is modeled after the incentives offered to Foxconn. Under the bill, the WEDC could give Kimberly Clark refundable tax credits equal to 17% of the company's payroll at the Neenah and Fox Crossing facilities.
That is an enormous incentive. That is way more. I mean, I think 7-8% were the maximums under prior giveaways by the Commerce or WEDC. Dom, 17% is a massive giveaway.
Kimberly-Clark would also be exempt from paying sales taxes on any building materials used for construction or development at those facilities and would receive a 15% capital investment credit. The legislation includes similar clawback provisions to the ones...
Does that not mean cash? Are we not talking about specific cash incentives? I mean, when you start talking about... You're talking about cash. Capital investment credit. Well, if they spend any money, they get 15% back in cash. And if they hire workers, they get 17% back in cash. That's different than a tax break. We're offering cash to every corporation that threatens the economy, Dom.
According to an estimate from the WEDC, the company would receive between $7 million and $8 million per year under the bill.
$7 to $8 million after they got tax cuts, and they didn't even want to do it.
And after
they didn't request this,
renegotiated with the union.
That's the only reason they've chosen to, keep the plants open? Can you do us? I mean, this solid? You get tax incentives of 17% of payroll. You stick it to the union guys. You bend them over. And then, and only then, if the Republicans give us what we're asking for, well, then we'll keep the plant open. Well, it wasn't in their financial plans, Dom, because it was more financially prudent, more profitable for them to close these plants. We are basically what? We're hoisting over taxpayer money. We're giving corporate welfare. We're picking winners and losers in a ludicrous, inflated fashion. I mean, no one should be making the deals that this governor is making on behalf of us, the taxpayers. Go ask your accountant if you don't believe me, righties. If I got offered a 17% incentive, cash, to hire some people, hey, for every $100,000 you spend, we'll give you $17,000 cash. Well, and I get to come to you guys and say, hey, bad news, everyone's got to take a pay cut. I might keep the store open for a few more weeks.
The agreement reached between Kimberly-Clark and the United Steelworkers is outstanding news, and we look forward to working with Senate leaders and the company to keep hundreds of good-paying, family-supporting jobs in the Fox Valley, Scott Walker said in a statement.
Now, I know the Democrats put forth a plan to incentivize Kimberly-Clark to update the plant, to change the technology. And Scott Walker is just basically bending like a drunken sailor. It must be election year, and he's using our wallet. 844-967-2789. One last segment. You better call now.
If they're able-bodied and they want to work, then they'll have employer-sponsored benefits like you and I do.
When takes for nothing!
Here in the Badger State, we have our own expressions. When we're looking to go on vacation, we state, well, let's go up north. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, president of Teamsters Local 200. Here in the Badger State, we also have another expression, union yes. The strength of the labor movement depends on elected officials here in Wisconsin and Washington, D.C. that support the values of working families that raise the standards for all. Give us a call at Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit our website at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook at Teamsters Local 200. Be engaged.
Hey folks, sexy liberal Stephanie Miller here. Most new Wisconsin jobs are in Dane County, it's true. Some of my listeners are relocating to Madison. Many already commute there. When asked where to turn for a trusted real estate team that understands Madison, I say the same thing. Solidarity Realty. They help you through the process and protect your consumer rights. They live their values, building community, promoting sustainability and diversity. Find them today at solidarityrealty.com and tell them Stephanie Miller sent you.
On marijuana, unfortunately, it's a public health issue and a public safety issue. I've opposed that.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, how can medical marijuana help those addicted to opioids?
There's three big things. There's clear consensus now that
cannabis can treat pain. That is not an opinion. That is a consensus conclusion by big scientific bodies like the National Academy of Science. We also know that it can help treat the withdrawal symptoms of opioids. People, they don't want to be on it anymore. They want to quit, but they develop the terrible withdrawal symptoms. And now we have evidence that it can actually help heal the part of the brain that is diseased in someone who's an opioid addict. If you had to start from scratch and design a substance to help lead us out of the opioid epidemic, like in a lab, it would probably look very much like cannabis.
Call Governor Scott Walker at 608-266-1212. Tell him good people do smoke marijuana. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
Hi, Resistance Radio listeners. This is Kim Schrader, the president of the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association. We are the 4,600 educators who make Milwaukee's public education system possible. MTA members are the guardians of public education because every single day we are fighting to strengthen and protect public schools our students deserve. MTA educators are leading the fight in Milwaukee public schools for smaller class sizes, more recess, physical education, art, and music opportunities for every child in MPS. MTA educators are the champions for healthier school meals, positive discipline practices, equitable schools, and schools that partner with parents. MTA members are the guardians of public education, and we are proud to teach all children, regardless of their zip code. To learn more, follow us on Facebook at the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
If you're like a lot of companies, you know you need IT, but you aren't sure where to start. That's where Five Nines comes in. Hi, I'm Todd Stryker, President and CEO. For almost 15 years, Five Nines has been providing IT solutions to companies just like yours. We'll show you the solutions that are right for your business and give you the roadmap to success in the future. Find us at 5nines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Last segment of the day. So let's get to some callers. 844-967-2789. Joe from Stevens Point, you're up. Thanks for calling, Joe. What do you think?
Oh, man, you guys are the best. That's what I think, and that's what I know. So
you're a smart guy, Joe. I know that. And you have excellent taste as talk radio host.
I do. And I'm good at math. I added up the math, and that's what it said. So, hey, you know what? Okay, here's the deal. Unions, the Democrats have abandoned the unions a long time ago. Chuck Schumer, he's the chief strategist for the DCCC. They have just aligned with strategy sessions with the Blue Dog Democrats. So don't be looking for any union good handshakes going on. Chuck Schumer in the 2016 elections came out and said, for every blue-collar worker, i.e. union guy, we lose, we'll pick up a white-collar Republican light guy in the suburbs. And we can repeat this in Wisconsin and, Michigan and Pennsylvania. And that was the way he said it. But it was like the dumbest thing that ever happened. And this is kind of a continuation of what we were talking about yesterday. I'm not even hardly into what the Republicans are doing. I'm so ultra concerned with the lack of coverage of who is running the Democratic ship here. And we can't turn our back that the Democrats are pushing. You can't name one big idea.
I can, and I don't mean to.
What is it?
Well, Tammy Baldwin's definitely been pushing her Made in America plan, And I know that she has gotten some love back from the labor unions. She's put a lot of emphasis in her standing with the workers at the Brokaw plant. And I found myself in that neck of the woods the other day. Now, I didn't meet any union guys standing out by a historic overlook, but I can tell you that they are saying good things about her, talking about the union stiffs, are saying nice things about Tammy Baldwin and her support of them.
Let's get one more in. Philip from Waukesha, you will have the last word today. What do you got for us?
Okay, guys, you got to save me here. I am just going nuts here with Scott Walker. Isn't there anybody out there, a lawyer that's got some kind of moxie, some savvy, where we can come up and put together a class action suit against all the Republican politicians and Scott Walker because they are stealing money from us with this Foxconn deal? I mean, I am going to be paying, well, hopefully I got 20 years left. My kids are going to be paying the salaries of all the employees at Foxconn and Kimberly-Clark for the next 20 years or and above, and we're not. The state is not getting anything back on this. They're stealing money because of Scott Walker. I mean, I guess this is what happens when you get a college dropout for a governor. He thinks he's getting a good deal here.
It's not the lack of education. Philip, I appreciate the call. It's not the lack of education. It's the corrupt to the coreness of Scott Walker that is the problem, and you don't need to sue him, sir. Just vote his ass out of office. We got a primary August 14th. We got a general election in November. This is the year. Stand up, Wisconsin. Do the right thing and throw this bum out on his sorry coke-owned ass. Thank you, Batman Matt Rothschild from the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Thank you, Dominic. Thank you, Fancy Brian. Thank you to all the fine listeners. We'll do it again tomorrow on the radio. You're listening to Wisconsin's only Resistance Radio Network.
I think I did our country a great fire.
Can we call that treason? Why not?
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in